Yes, good morning. Happy Christmas Eve. And I've got two of Santa's little helpers. Look at them. There's Rain and Lubo. Look at them. I reckon you both look good working on a grotto. What do you reckon? No, you don't fancy it?
Well, we can follow our defence and give out presents all the time, couldn't we?
Yeah, the gift that keeps giving. I'm wearing a top like the milk tray man. Remember him? Anyway, how are we, lads? Are we okay? Is everyone all right on Christmas Eve? All ready to go for tomorrow?
Yeah, work's finished now till the 2nd. And
good. Rain, all sorted, ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm all ready. My lad declared this morning that he wanted to go and do some shopping. I was like, well, where are you going to do that then, mate? I think he's expecting a lift. He's not getting.
No. She said to me yesterday. By she, I mean the wife. And oh God, you know what I've forgotten in our food delivery, our Christmas food delivery is sponge fingers for making a trifle. And also one other thing. And I went, there is not a chance that we are going to a Sainsbury's or there is not a chance on Christmas Eve I'm going to a shop. Like, no. So I said, I'll stream instead. And here we are with our own sponge fingers. Tottenham Hotspur. Hey, we love talking about Tottenham. Happy Christmas to everyone in the chat. I will be live tomorrow morning for an hour or so as well. I always do every Christmas. But hey, we're live today. Guys, it's strange because as things should be slowing down during this Christmas time, it's also strange because we're like 8 days out from a transfer window opening, which feels like it's, I know we say this every single transfer window, but this one does really feel very important, doesn't it, lads? Lubo, let me start with you. Is this, I can't believe I'm going to ask this question. Is this the most important window in the modern era for Tottenham with regards to everything that's going on?
They seem to get more important every window, don't they?
Yeah.
Every window, it just seems to get, not so much the last one because we actually did bring in some players. But every window seems, we haven't had a decent window, proper decent window, or a set of decent windows for a decade. So, for me, but I'm a bit worried about this one because if Paratici does leave in the next few days, where does that leave the club?
Yes,
because if the roles were defined as Langham's dealing with more on the youth side and Paritici's dealing with the established players, then where do we go? You know, if all the negotiations have been with Paratici and then all of a sudden he's gone, then Lang has got to step in to negotiations that are already several levels down the road. And what happens then? Do they fall apart? Do they carry on? Does he have the skill set?
Which leads us to the big question of the day: what does Lang actually do? What does Lang actually do at our football club? Because I don't think anybody knows. You know, over the last year, it's been proven that he doesn't do the transfers. Even when we went and got Tell, whatever you think of that, he needed to get Daniel Levy to go and do the negotiating. He went on holiday in the summer. When during the transfer window, so this guy clearly doesn't do the transfers. So yeah, it's with Paratici, taking his leave. It does make you wonder what is going to happen in January, because it isn't going to be Langer.
It's going to be interesting, right, guys? And I think this is the key thing when. I always try to look a little bit deeper than the surface level. So when people say Frank out, I'm like, yeah, that's great, but what next? Same with Paratici. People going, oh, he's done nothing. Sure, but what next? And I think that is my worry with the constant change at Spurs. Like even Matt Wells has gone, right? We've had confirmation, haven't we, that Matt Wells has now left the building.
Yeah.
If Paratici goes as well, then we're kind of in this state of flux, like Lubo said, where it's like, okay, brilliant. Well, all of these deals that are in motion, who's concluding that? many of those deals are how many of those deals will people walk away from? Because they're going to go, well, hang on, what we've been sold this dream of Tottenham's new project, plan, process, whatever word you want to use. And yet the assistant manager's gone. Now the director of football's gone. We're hearing that Thomas Frank might be sacked. Like, there's no stability, Lubo. And this is why I keep trying to say every day that I'm all for these people getting sacked all over the place, but it's not a good look to the outside world, is it?
No, I remember do you remember the message that Balotelli had on his shirts when he scored at Old Trafford?
Yeah,
it's always me. Well, for the way I feel is it's always us, isn't it? While Arsenal bringing in an assistant to Berta from Napoli, we're losing our DLF. Yeah. So, they do the opposite to us, unfortunately.
Some might say they're running like a professional football club.
You think so?
I'm just saying. Some might say that.
I know. It was interesting listening to Simon Jordan yesterday, and I sort of paraphrased him on a WhatsApp group, and Sean's thumbnailed me now.
I've got
where I said that the problem before was that Levy was a leader, but micromanaged and failed to delegate, which was a massive failing on his part. Whereas now it appears that we've got Vinay, who was a number 2 at Arsenal for 14 years, and is he stepping up to fill that vacuum that Levy's left? So I don't know. It's only the guys at Spurs know that. But if Vinay doesn't step up, then the Lewis kids have left the club in other people's hands. What is going on? There's been so much change. There's a big transition period that the club have got to get through. It's not all going to fall into place in 5 minutes. But if I say if I'm not accusing anyone, if Vinay is just not stepping up, why is Paratici leaving? Is the question. After just under 3 months since coming back, why is he on it? Why does he want to leave? He obviously.
Lubo, he hasn't actually left yet, right? Like I keep seeing that from all of the reputable sources, they are saying Fiorentina are pushing hard and speaking to him, but they're also saying that Spurs actually haven't been approached. Now, obviously, Paratici can agree what he wants, but they still have to approach Spurs and pay severance, not severance, pay
compensation.
Compensation. That's not severance. It's a completely different thing. And they've not done that. Why? Like, is this happening? Is this not? I mean,
is it the usual situation where you agree a deal, you make sure that the person wants to come to your club, agree the package with them, and then go and approach the club? Maybe they're in part 2 of the 3 parts. So, that could be.
Well, Paratici's had a lot of experience now with kind of working, but not officially working for one particular place. Maybe he's technically maybe he's technically working for Napoli at this moment, and they just don't want to pay him yet. Do you know what I mean? So it's they don't need to pay him until the 1st of January. And they're all working from home. Maybe he's just doing what Daniel Levy's trained him to do, which is work in the background, and not necessarily be working for who people think that he's working for. Just on your other point, Lubo, on Daniel Levy, all of the good ones left. All of the good ones left under clouds. So Arneson, Barber, Mitchell, all of the good DOFs that we had, who delivered, really, really good. The Harry Redknapp team was really delivered by Arneson a couple of years before, right? Barber did some great work, and then Mitchell came and delivered the Poch team. Delivered the 4 or 5 year Poch team, and they all left because they couldn't do their job because they were getting micromanaged. Mitchell falls out with everybody, but he wasn't backward in coming out and saying that. I don't want Vinay to step into that Levy role. I personally, my preference would be for us to get an Ashworth type director of football, of football ops,
a proper football guy, Rain, right?
Yeah,
a proper football guy that wraps his arms around everything and goes, no, I'm dealing with this. We need Vinay to just go, right, you're in charge, right? Here's your budget or whatever, you're in charge, run with it. And that's what Arsenal have done, right? That's what City have done. That's what Liverpool have done.
Well, Arsenal brought Josh Kroenke in, and Kroenke oversees the whole thing. The son oversees everything. So we're missing that person.
Sure.
Vinay's meant to be that person.
But they then went and got Edu, who looks after a lot of the transfers, the operations. So they built a working team of people who understood football, understood football and how it works, and also, critically, understood how to build relationships within football, because that was the thing that Paratici did so well was build those. That's why he was on the phone all the time, with the famous white earbuds, because he's constantly talking to people and building relationships. What we can clearly see from Langer is, it's no disrespect to him. It's just who he is. He's sitting behind a computer, playing Football Manager, and looking for the next wonder kid. Whereas. But we need somebody who's going to build those football relationships.
But isn't it worrying though, guys? Like, I mean, look, we come up here and we chat and we think we all know what's going on. And the only reason we think we all know what's going on is because they never actually surprise us and prove us wrong. But maybe they prove us wrong this time. Maybe the January window opens, guys, and on the 1st of January, while every football fan in the country is nursing a hangover from the night before, Spurs sign Marmoush. Seems to be the name on everyone's lips. Spurs sign Savio. Spurs sign Lookman. Maybe, Lubo, this is the year where we do have our ducks in a row and we go from day one. How hopeful are you of that actually coming to fruition?
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not at all.
Isn't that sad? Isn't that
yeah.
sad that you feel that way? Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Listen, we'll know by the end of Jan. We'll see who they've gone for, what sort of players, whether the club are ambitious, whether the players they're going for are big money signings, whether they're big wage signings. We'll see where they're at, and then we can judge a little bit because in reality you need the summer window when there will be a lot more players that will be available to buy. So it's it'll just be a small snapshot guide this January as to how the new regime is looking at things.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to move on to this, right? Because obviously the biggest news in football yesterday was the Semenyo story, which has been going for ages. And by the way, I said to my uncle yesterday, I actually think it was really cute, the number of Spurs fans that thought there was a chance Semenyo would come to Tottenham when he's turning down the likes of Chelsea. And, Pep Guardiola calls, you go, right? Pep Guardiola rings and says, hey, you want to join Man City? Yeah, actually, I quite fancy playing with Haaland and Foden and Rodri and yada, yada. Now, the reason I bring that up isn't because I ever thought we were going to get him. I've said from day dot, there's no hope of Tottenham Hotspur getting Semenyo. But what that has now done is it's made the football world, Rain, I'll start with you. It's made the football world go, well, hang on. They've got Bockel who's playing really well. They're now buying Semenyo as well. Then you've got Cherky and Foden and Silva. What does this mean for Bob, Savio, and Marmoush? Now, we know, Rain, that Spurs want Savio. We know that one, like the likes of Ornstein and all that have said it. But a lot of people now, I don't know if they're putting 2 and 2 together and getting 4, or if they're putting 2 and 2 together and getting 7. But Marmoush's name now seems to be, well, surely that's an obvious loan for a guy that's not getting game time. Pie in the sky made up nonsense from Spurs fans, or something in the woodwork that could come to fruition?
I mean, he's not playing that much, is he? He's not getting massive amounts of game time. I know how you feel about Savio. I'm not sold. I'm not a no. I haven't really seen the minutes in the Premier League that I'd like to see. I think he's played something like, I don't think he's played 10 full Premier League games. That's for me, that's a bit of a concern, and I'd want my transfer guys, the people who crunch the numbers, I'd want them to explain to me why that's not a problem at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, where, let's face it, we need people to play minutes. The other concern is, we're talking. It's looking like Semenyo. Well, the release clause was what, 50, 60, 60-ish, 60-ish. Yeah. 65. Yeah. In the summer, the numbers that were being banded about for Savio was what, 70, 80. Yeah. We're now being told that maybe we'll get Marmoush on loan so we can get game time. Are we Manchester City? We're Manchester City's feeder club then. We're the club that they sell their unwanted players to for huge money. So they're farming money from us, and at the same time giving the players who aren't getting minutes. There's a clear reason why Bob isn't getting minutes, and that's because he looks like he's unfortunately got is a bit injury prone. So why he would come to the club that creates injury prone players, I've no idea.
Let's get more injury prone footballers in the squad. It's an interesting one, right? Like, I know, like, when we have the conversation about Savio, I watched Savio at Girona on his preferred wing, on his left wing, playing week in, week out, and he's a class act. Now, I always think it's difficult. I think it's really difficult to judge wingers at Man City, and I'll tell you why I think it's difficult to judge wingers at Man City. First of all, it's how much game time are you getting? Now that the only one that seems to be constant at the moment is Doku, and he wasn't constant for 2 years. He had to build and grow and develop to be that guy. But whenever you watch Man City, this is my theory, guys. Tell me what you think. Whenever you watch Man City, the opposition automatically stick 10 men behind the ball. And they say, break us down, right? They don't give Man City any room. And what ends up happening is the wingers actually end up just being players who are stuck out wide that have to get it and give it back to somebody inside because there's no grass or room to actually run into. Now, if one of these wingers, if a Savio came to Spurs, no one's going to put 10 men behind the ball against Tottenham. Like, we're not that good. Like, we're not striking fear. So what he'll actually end up doing is picking up the ball on the halfway line, like what Kudus does. And then you've got someone like Savio with room to run into, like he did with Girona. So I feel like he'd be a really good player for us. I think judging him on the 10, 15-minute cameos he has at Man City, I feel is really unfair. But I don't think, when people are going, I wouldn't have Savio, guys, I don't think we're better. I think we need to remember who we are and what we've got. I truly look at the state of this squad and think we can't turn down Grealishes and Savios and Lookmans, and that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying no to Savio. I would prefer Lookman. Savio, it's almost, for me, it's almost like this. I would almost take a step down in technical ability from Savio if you could give me somebody who we've got more confidence is going to play more minutes. That's where I am. Yeah, because
what do you mean? We need more minutes than who?
More minutes than, I think, more minutes than Savio has regularly played in the Premier League. And yes, I get your point. You can't. Anyone who plays fantasy Premier League knows you're very, very careful about Pep Roulette, right? It's not a guide. It's not a guide, and it's not a judgment. And that's why I'd say, look, guys, explain to me why it's not a problem. And I would accept them if they said, look, this is why it's not a problem. We're really, really confident, and that would be great. And I'd be like, right, okay, if we're comfortable that he is going to be able to play regular minutes, that we're not going to have to.
But he can. I've got to say, I don't understand where you're coming from. He's not getting regular minutes because there's better players in front of him at Man City. It's not that he can't play regular minutes. He played loads last year. So where's this concern that he can't play regular minutes? I don't understand. Sorry.
I don't. I went and had a look the other day, and I think he's played 9 full Premier League games, and for me, that's in 2 years. And yes, there is a Man City thing about that, but at Spurs, what we need to be getting is players who can play regularly, who can churn out games. That's just my concern. If you're saying, look, it's not a concern, this is why it is, these are the reasons why it is. He used to do it over here. It's then that's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying that's if. You always look at what are the pros and cons, and there's lots of pros with Savio. I'm just having a look. Where are my concerns? What would that need to be addressed? Look, if you look at Semenyo's a beast, right? He just churns out minutes. He just plays. And that's what that's what you want from a player, right? Kudus just churns out minutes. That's what I'm saying. That's the only concern I have with Savio.
No, I get it. I mean, I think the worry for me, Lubo, is, and again, Spurs fans don't pick the players, but I see this every window where we seem to look at players who are 10 times better than what we've got, and we look down. I know, not Rain here. I'm just even in the chat, I'm seeing people going, "Oh, is Savio better than what we've got?" And yes, like yes, we've got Telenodaba or Brennan Johnson on the left. I'm better than what we've got, and I'm 43. So are we being a little bit, as a fan base in general, are we overrating or overstating just how attractive we are to attain the players that fans want, Lubo?
I think there's got to be some ambition. Otherwise, what are we doing? To be honest, it's very easy to say, fine, we're in the mud. Anybody's better than what we've got. So let's take anybody. That's easy. You're getting an improvement, but is this what you need long term? Is this going to help build the club back? Personally, I'm the same as Rain. I'm not sold on Savio. I think Lookman, I've seen in the comments, Lookman and Harvey Barnes, I think, are 2 much better shouts than Savio for me.
Lookman seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? Again, I watched him last night for Nigeria, right? He is better than anything we've got in our forward line, by the way. He is, and everyone wants to talk about attitude, but Lubo, I heard this about Rashford, who's banging in goals for Barcelona. I heard this about Garnacho, who started for Chelsea. I heard this about Grealish, who's playing really well for Everton. Our fans seem to think everyone's got an attitude and no one's good enough for Spurs.
What's interesting is that the players you mentioned have not had attitude problems at their new clubs up to now.
Some of them didn't have attitude problems before, though. You've got to remember, a lot of this is social media.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of this is people going, "Oh, Grealish has got an attitude." Why? Why has Grealish got an attitude? Every time you see Jack Grealish, he's brilliant with players. He's brilliant with the kids. He's brilliant with his charity work. But our fans went, Jack Grealish is a pisshead with an attitude.
Well, is he not entitled to have a night out on,
Right.
So
I'd be drunk all the time if I was a footballer. I'll be honest. I'd probably know.
Biggest worry for me, Sav, is where the club find themselves at the moment. Is there's been a complete media silence from the club the last few days. There's nothing. You're not even seeing videos of the players training going up to Christmas. There's just been nothing. So you've got to wonder what's going on. Is Paratici leaving? Will Lang be in charge of transfers for January? That's what worries me. That really does worry me. Now, people may turn around and say, we don't rate Paratici. I think Paratici has made some decent signings. He's gone to Italy for most of them. He's made some bad signings with Galini, Emerson Royale. Sorry, Nick, if you're watching, but he was a poor signing as well. Brian Hill, talented player, very skillful technical player, but not suited to the Premier League. But by and large, he brought in Vicario, and Vicario's hit a bad run last few weeks. But for me, Vicario was fine for 2 years and a bit. He brought Udogie in, who's
absolute shit. He is.
No,
I'm not
I don't agree with you. Udogie had a superb period in Italy. Came across as a wing back, but unfortunately has never been fit for any amount of time. So his career at Spurs has been stop-start. Basuma was brought in. We're all excited with that. 25 million for Basuma. That was a Levy opportunity because Basuma had 1 year left on his contract. Brighton don't sell players for 25 million. We got him. That's been a disappointment as well. So at the moment he is. Sorry, it's
yeah.
also,
This is a good point. This is a good point.
I'll answer.
This is a good point. You rate Gray, who's done nothing in football, but Savio, who made the La Liga Team of the Year 2 years ago.
No, hang on 1 second. He's been in first team squads in Premier Leagues with Girona and Man City for 3 years, and the last 2 years, I think Rangers said he started 9 games. Gray is a young up and coming kid with potential at a different level in his career and a different position, a different time in his development as well. So they're not like for like in any shape or form. I just think I think Gray can get better, but I do think we can get better obviously than Gray. We need established midfield players, and we need a top left winger as well. Yeah. So for me, I hope that answers that question. I'm not delusional, believe me. I know exactly where Gray is in his development. He's not ready for the first team just yet. But I do think with the left wingers that are out there, I do think we can get better than Savio. What's wrong with Fofana from Leon?
Give me a list of players we can get better than Savio that want to join Tottenham. Let's go for it.
Listen, Leon need money. Leon is short of money.
Agreed. So
Fofana. You could go there and buy Fofana.
Yeah, I like Fofana.
If they wanted to buy Lookman, Atalanta would have sold, but Spurs wanted a loan at the end of August. If Spurs go there and say, right, there's the money, we want Lookman, then it's up to the player. But at least the club are going there and saying, right, we'll buy him from you. We're not looking to loan him. We'll buy him from you.
Okay, so Fofana and Lookman
is 2. Harvey Barnes, if no idea whether he would want to leave Newcastle or not. Harvey Barnes is a good shout, good player.
I like Harvey Barnes.
Doesn't start regularly. You've got Alanga, you've got Anthony Gordon's number 1 choice. You've got Jacob Murphy. I mean, you've got 4 players that play wide at Newcastle. So would Barnes want to play if he was guaranteed first team football? Would he join? Should I say, with that guarantee? Maybe. So for me, there's 3 players I would rather have than Savio, who's in and out, hit and miss at City.
Isn't it mad though? Can I just throw devil's advocate in it? Isn't it mad though that this is a guy that was in La Liga Team of the Year at the age of 19. So when we're talking about our young kids, this kid, by the way, he's 21, Savio. Like we're talking like he's a seasoned pro. He's 21 years of age. He got 8 assists last season. 8, 9, 10 across all competitions last year. He got 13 assists for Manchester City. So we're talking about somebody who's got pedigree here. Like, and if my worry, guys, is when we judge players by them not starting at City. I heard all of this about Jack Grealish in the summer. The whole thing was, Grealish hasn't started many games over the last 2 years for City. Grealish has not been scoring at Man City. Grealish has not been assisting. the problem is at Man City, it's a forever revolving belt of top footballers. So what Man City do is like what they're doing right now. We know they've won the signature of Semenyo, right? Man City don't sit still. Man City, unlike us, don't have players for 4 to 5 years and then we pretend they're going to come good. Man City go, right, can we improve right now? Yes, we can. Are we going to be sentimental about Bob or Savio or who? No, we're not. So I don't think saying that they've not done something at Man City isn't necessarily a bad thing. This is one of the best clubs in the world. We're Tottenham. Like, couldn't it be that someone like Savio rocks up to Spurs, gets played every week, and you see exactly why City bought him and the player that we saw at Girona? Like, so if either of you guys watched him at Girona, fuck me, he's talented. Like superbly talented.
The only word of caution, so well, just to agree with that, you could just say Cole Palmer, right? It's not mine.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
You could just say Cole Palmer. I saw him for the under-21s. I saw him in some of the academy games. I saw him for a couple of the City games that he played, and it was clear that he was very, very, very good player. You know, really, really good player. And so the same things that I'm saying about Savio could have been said about Cole Palmer. And look where that. So it's I 100% understand. But the other side of it, Sav, is I remember when we signed Hill, right? And I've got a couple of. I used to do a lot of work in Spain, and one of my really good mates is a Madrid season ticket holder, and he immediately got on the phone to me. He's like, "Oh, this guy's going to be amazing." He sent me some clip reels of Brian Hill. He's done this, he's done that. He's always been in. He was in my fantasy team last year. He was telling me, and look where that turned out. It is
but different.
It is difficult. Right? It is like difficult looking at how they do. Sorry, go on.
But Brian, listen. By the way, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh my God, Savio's the only bloke I want." But right now, if you offered me Fofana, Lookman, Savio, all of these players come in and completely revolutionise what we do on the left wing. That's my point. If Savio got to start every game for Spurs on the left wing, we're now not seeing the 10-minute cameos. And I don't like it when I hear this. Like when I hear, "Oh, but my mate supports Man City and said that he's not been good this year." But sure, but we could say that I might say that to my mate about Romero. Doesn't mean other clubs shouldn't sign him. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I just think we need to know where we are in the pecking order, Rain. And my worry about this is the number of players we seem to talk about that we wouldn't take at Spurs. This is purely from a fan perspective. This isn't the club. It really worries me how we absolutely rate players who have done fuck all, like Bergvall, Gray, Tell, Odegaard. We rate some really non-entity footballers. But then when we look at that, we go,
You're talking about kids. You're talking about kids when loads of established players are not doing it for Spurs. Why do you only focus on the kids being bad?
No. See, I don't. I knew that would trigger you.
I'm not doing it.
That would trigger you. I knew that would trigger you. You know the difference.
They've all lost their focus. It's
Lubo. You know why? You know why, Lubo? Is because people overrate these kids. I'm not seeing anyone really rate the older players. I think we all acknowledge that a lot of these older players aren't good enough. But it's the kids that get rated. Like, we got people that want Tell and Odegaard that in the same breath will tell you Savio shouldn't sign for Spurs. That's worrying for me. That's truly worrying for me. The same fans that don't want Conor Gallagher are telling me that Bergvall and Gray should start in the team. This worries me deeply as a Spurs fan, that we as a fan base have lost all touch of reality of what a good footballer looks like. That's my worry. Sorry, Lubo. I know you get really defensive over these kids, but
whole fan base has been levied basically into accepting this lack of ambition at the club. That's what's happened. You know, as I said, we used to be a big club that attracted big players. Not anymore.
And I think that's another problem, right? We're talking about 2 weeks ago, everyone was like, "Shall we go and get Semenyo?" And we're now saying, you know, "Oh, shall we get Marmoush? Shall we get Savio? Shall we?" And I think the real concern is, I'm really concerned that I think we are going to find out where Spurs are in players' eyes in terms of the pecking order.
I agree.
That's why it's even more important to have somebody like Paratici who will get on the blower, who will go and make those relationships, who will go and get in the ears of the agents, get in the ears of the players, so that we can start lining these transfers up. I think what we used to do and what we did in the summer with Eze and Morgan Gibbs-White and Hincapié, where we're like, oh, they're available. We'll now go in for them. That's clearly we've got enough data to prove that doesn't work. That method doesn't work. That they either go like nah, or they go or another club comes in and buys them out from under us. We need somebody who's going to go and do some legwork for us, so that we can get the right players in.
Are we attractive, right? Are we attractive? Because when I asked this question to Lubo and he said, we've got to have ambition, I don't disagree with him, but there's a difference between having ambition as a football club, Rain, and the players wanting to come, right? Like we've seen now, how many of these players are turning us down? I mean, Semenyo, we're not even in the conversation with Semenyo. Do you know what I mean? Like Semenyo was deliberating between Man United and Man City, right? He don't want Spurs. Eze would have been Spurs. As soon as someone bigger came in, see you later. Are we I'm worried, Rain, that we're not attractive. I'm worried that
Gibbs White
why would they come?
Gibbs White wanted to join Spurs. He didn't.
Yeah.
That's why, but he did want to join Spurs.
Sure, but Gibbs White isn't the level of some of these players we're talking. Like, Gibbs White's a good footballer, right? But he's not top drawer, is he?
He's not currently playing for Tottenham Hotspur, so I'm not sure what the point is. Sorry, Lubo. I'm not. In the end, we didn't get him.
No, I know we didn't. No, but we're talking about how players from other clubs, their perception of where Spurs are as a club, and Gibbs White was prepared to join. So it's not all gloom and doom. You know, you can mention Eze, correct? Prime example, Semenyo, another one, but. Yeah, as they always wanted Arsenal, that was his boyhood team.
Sure.
He was gutted when they released him. And
I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom, Lubo, but at some point, I think the point that we've made throughout the show, right, is that at some point, unless some of them get over the line, then it's not doom and gloom, but unless some of those actually get over the line, then the point stands, doesn't it, that we're not attractive to very, very, very good players. Like, we're not.
We need to get business done. Ultimately, that's where we are. We need to get business done, and when you're doing business, you need to understand, you know, where you are in the business pecking order, so that you can price yourself and you can make yourself as attractive to your client as possible. So another good example is Harvey Barnes. I actually would have preferred us to sign Harvey because he left at the same time as Maddison, and I would have preferred us to sign Harvey Barnes to Maddison. If I'm really, really honest, I thought he looked a lot better player than Maddison from what I saw. Yeah, from what I saw, I really, really liked Harvey Barnes.
James Maddison.
Yeah. I'm not a Maddison fan at all. For
anyone who says this, I just have to put this on the screen. For anyone who's not a James Maddison fan, look at this man.
I get it.
Look at this.
I get it.
How can you not be a fan of that?
It's a playing style type of thing. I would say the goals outside the box How many of those are for us? How many of those are for us?
Sure, but
the free kick goals. How many of those are for us?
Sure, but look. Okay, look at this then. Like, look at his numbers. This guy's.
Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, I think we've forgotten who we are. I think we think we're a lot better than we are at Tottenham Hotspur.
The problem is, Sav, he's only played out of 127 games. He's only played 75. He's missed 52 games. Maddison. He's missed 40% for Spurs. He's missed 40%.
Yeah, because we know he's out injured for the season, right? So
no, but right.
It's only going to get worse, I think, is what Lubo's saying.
Those figures are getting worse, yeah.
But anyway, to my point. Yeah. I looked at Maddison and Harvey Barnes, and admittedly at the time I was very much like I prefer to sign younger players at the time. I have progressed with my opinions, and I looked at Harvey Barnes and I would have preferred him at the time. But my point is, I don't think we're getting Harvey Barnes from Newcastle. I don't think Harvey Barnes is leaving the Newcastle project and what's happening up there, unless Newcastle want to sell him.
Yeah.
And I see no evidence that Newcastle want to sell him. He plays regular minutes. I don't see us getting him into Tottenham Hotspur.
Do you think if we let's be brutally honest though, guys, and this is where we are the kings at this football club of revisionism. At the time, if Spurs had signed Harvey Barnes, our fans would have gone mad.
Yeah.
Right? Our fans
100%.
would have gone mad. The same way at the time, our fans didn't want Anthony Gordon. Right? Now, if I said to you, Anthony Gordon's going to be our left winger, every fan will go, yeah, I'll bite your hand off to have Anthony Gordon as our winger. This is what I mean, Ray. This constantly goes down to, and again, I'm not saying this is Spurs fans buy the players. We don't. But it always shocks me when I see the level of player that our fans just completely dismiss. I'm seeing it all summer. I mean, Marcus Rashford, right? Whatever you think of Marcus Rashford would be one of our best players. He'd be the best forward at this football club, bar none. Bar Kudus, whoever, Mawad, he would be our best forward, our most prolific forward, would score the most goals. We got nah, we wouldn't want Rashford. Lookman,
Grealish. Grealish was another one.
Oh, Grealish, don't want. People don't want. Oh, Conor Gallagher. Yeah, we just seem to. I feel like I'm very. I'm bound to say this about myself. I feel like I'm really down to earth with understanding what Tottenham are and the level that we should be buying to take us to the next level. Some of our fans, though, just go like, get me Yildiz. Yeah, sure, because Yildiz is going to want to leave Juventus to come to Tottenham. Like, oh, get me, people just say these crazy things. Get me this guy, get me that guy. And you're like, those guys aren't joining Tottenham Hotspur. I'm just a bit, I don't know what fans think we are. I don't know who's looking at this and going, yeah, we can attract a Yildiz. Yeah, we can. People are going, oh, can we attract Rodrigo from Real Madrid? No, we can't. Why would we? I don't know, man.
It also works with the selling players as well, right? It also works with the selling. Just sell Sarr, Bergvall, Gray. Just sell them. Wait. Go and put your house on the market tomorrow and see how quickly it takes you to sell it. Because unless somebody's interested in buying it, unless somebody's interested in buying these players, you're not going to be able to sell them. Which is why when I hear rumours that there's interest in Johnson, and people are like, but I'm like, no. If the money's there, you take it. If the money's there, we need a refresh. There's interest in that player who's not playing regularly in our first team. You take the money and you shift it, and you do exactly what Man City are doing. They're looking at the next player and they're recycling the players that they've got who aren't quite working. And at Spurs, we don't do that. We hold on to the players, even if they're not regular first teamers, just in case.
But they're established players, Rain. The players that City recycle are established players.
What?
Sean
Marmoush hasn't had
Sean
that many minutes. Oh, God.
That's all right. just to explain, listen, I've already explained on this show, Sean. You're a bit late, mate. You're a bit late. I preempted you coming on with that thumbnail. So,
Did everyone see it? Everyone see it?
There you go. There we go.
Just about.
I called Levy a leader, which he was at the club for 25 years. The problem was
say what you want, but he was a leader, and the club looks rudderless right now. Leave me back.
That's the fault. That's the fault of the new owners for not putting in a proper leader. But Levy wasn't the right person to have, Sean, at all. Levy's diminished this club, and the reason we're in this mess now is because of Levy. I put the blame mainly at his door completely. No, he has completely ruined the standing of our football club over 25 years. It's down to him. What a disgraceful legacy he has left. Real estate and the sinking of a football club.
How many chairmen can you name that have finished second in the Premier League, finished third in the Czech Premier League, got to a Champions League final, won the Europa League, and have had more finals or semi-finals than you've had hot dinners?
There's plenty of managers that have won the Europa and won European competitions. What about, was it David Moyes? David Moyes won a European trophy with West Ham. Chairman? Well, Sullivan won it with West Ham, didn't he? You're going to put,
did he get to the Champions League?
We're putting Sullivan and Levy on the same bracket.
No, the Conference League. The Conference League isn't the Europa League.
Third and fourth all the time. It's no good.
Conference League isn't the
Champions. You've got to be the
Champions League final. Champions League. Hi, Savva. Hi, Rain.
No, this is brilliant. I love this. He's come straight in, and Lubo, he's got straight under your skin without saying anything.
No, listen, it's all banter. It's all banter with Sean. It's all banter with Sean. But listen, Sean will be Levy out. When he sees how this club sinks, and he actually takes a step back and actually looks at it in the cold light of day, Sean will see exactly on the football side how Levy has diminished this club. Totally.
How's it going so far with the new crop?
Well, we'll see.
It's not been a good start, is it? Old Vinay. Let's do that genius move of letting two people be directors of football. See how long that works out. I said to you all, it was an absolute donut move and a cowardly move from the guy. His first major decision, and he couldn't even pick between Lang and Paratici. He's a number two. He's not a top guy. He's not top boy.
He is.
I hate agreeing with Sean, but Sean and I did a show about 10 weeks ago, and it was a good chat. And the one thing he raised when talking about Paratici and Lang, they done the sit down on the sofa, and thanks for being patient with me, and thanks to the fans and everything. You turned around and said, didn't you? Was you don't think this will work because too many chefs, and second of all, what happens when Vinay has to pick between one of them? And all the noise we're hearing is that it's a complete shit show behind the scenes. Yeah. And I don't know. And by the way,
I'm pretty sure Lubo at the time said to me, "No, Sean, no, Brentford have got two directors of football." Oh, okay.
No, I didn't know. It's Johnny actually. Johnny said two directors of football.
He's a donut as well then.
I didn't know they had two directors of football, to be honest.
I can't believe you just thrown Johnny under the bus.
I'm not paying for that one.
It does feel like it's getting worse. It does actually feel like it's getting. I don't know if it has to get worse before it gets better. And I think, Lubo, that might be your point.
But the thing is, Wayne,
it was such a bad place.
I said in the summer, and I actually remember jumping on a show on the Spurs 5 when I was on holiday because Levy went that night. And I remember everyone the smiles were beaming. This is a great day for Spurs. And I remember saying at the time, am I happy Levy's gone? Yeah, but I'm not going to celebrate until we actually have evidence moving forward over the next few years that it was Levy holding up deals, etc. Now, these next two windows, I think, are going to be really key to actually seeing, was it Levy? Was it Enoch? Is it just Spurs? And at the moment, we're going to find out, right? We're 8 days from a transfer window opening. Let's see. This is going to be the first window where it's between Vinay, Lang, Paratici, and Charrington. let's see what they deliver. If it's more 19-year-old kids, then we can't turn around and go, oh, Daniel Levy didn't have any, because it will be exactly the same. So this next window is really important for people like Lubo that have made a living off of hating Levy more than any other human being that exists. So this window is going to make or break you, Lubo, as a YouTuber.
No, mate. Listen, I will stick with it. What you got to look at is that where we are today is what Levy has created. So are we attractive as a club for the players that are available to want to enjoy it, to come and want to join the club? When we had the players,
is it Levy or is that Enoch? Is it Levy or is that Enoch?
Well, when we were in a position years ago to bring in better players, Levy chose not to. When we had Redknapp's team with Modric and Bale in the team and Scott Parker, Van der Vaart,
he wasn't given the money by Daddy.
He was given the money.
No,
he was. Tevez and Cahill.
Simon Jordan's opinion over yours on this one, mate, all day long. Simon Jordan,
I'm sorry. There are too many. There are too many. Mane in 2016. Wijnaldum.
Oh, we're doing this again.
We ended up with Zaha after those two. We ended up with Sissoko.
This is the extent of your argument. Bruno versus Gedson. That's all it is. This is Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish. But Jack Grealish.
Correct. Jack Grealish deal was done for 18 million. Levy wanted to renegotiate. Villa's new owners who came in a week later, who had sorted out the tax man, said, sorry, you're not now having him for 18 million or 15, whatever you want to pay. Yeah. Sorry, we could have had Grealish for 18 million. Levy screwed the deal up.
Nobody else in world football paid what Villa wanted for him. Fact.
Sorry?
Nobody else in world football paid what Villa wanted for him. It's a fact. It's not just Daniel Levy didn't get the player at the time.
Okay. You know better, Sean. You know better. You've always
know better than you. I do know better than you.
Always know you don't. You've always got an excuse for Levy. Always got an excuse.
So the concern right now. Sorry, 1 second. The concern right now. Look, so many people right now are going, is Frank the guy? Do I trust Frank to deliver? And I'm sitting here thinking, is Vinay the guy? Does Vinay have the experience, the gravitas to pick up, yes, from where Levy's left us and actually deliver? Because at the moment, it does feel chaotic. It feels chaotic that we got a manager who, is doing what he's doing at the moment. Although I will just say I loved his last press conference. The transfers in the summer were a bit, a bit meh. The situation with Langer and Paratici, and now Paratici is like, yeah, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go over there. We really need to see some moves at exec level to actually put this club on a firm footing. Otherwise, we're just going to stumble from chaos to chaos. That's just the way it's going to be.
Do you know what we are, Rain? Do you know what? A few weeks ago, I watched the, I don't know if anyone's seen this on Netflix, the Charlie Sheen documentary, right? And I liken us to Charlie Sheen. Like, he had these moments in his career where everything's great and everyone's really happy. And then within the space of a day, he's gone out on a bender, done about £25,000 worth of cocaine, woke up the next day, he's in rehab and everything's tits up again. This is Spurs. Like, there's
Charlie Sheen.
You're Charlie Sheen. There's no. Can anyone tell me the last year where Tottenham didn't have something just dramatic happen and not in a good way? Like, we can't go 3 months. We haven't managed to go 3 months without losing an assistant manager, a director of football. The chairman's gone. We want the manager out. We're just, this is great for YouTube. Sean was telling me that this is great for YouTube, but we're just, it's never calm. It's never ever calm at Tottenham. I mean, we're now at Vinay versus Levy, Ange versus Frank. We're at, we're sitting there talking about
Bruno.
Yeah, Gedson versus Bruno, Lang versus Paratici, and Vicario. What are we doing? What are we doing here, Sean? What are we doing here?
Hang on, should we call Sean?
Yep.
There's a comment here, 1202. Sheen Butler.
Charlie Sheen, yeah,
Sheen Butler now.
It's going to be a white Christmas, boys. I'm dreaming of a white.
But it's true, isn't it? It's just a nightmare. Always something going on.
Yeah. Look, it is chaos. It is chaos. There's a power vacuum. Look, I came in hot, but I'm only jesting and mucking around, obviously, banter. For me, I feel like that Daniel Levy was probably never the guy, unless he was working with other people's money, that would have taken the reins off. Because I think he definitely cop-blocked negotiations, and I think he burnt a lot of bridges with regards football clubs and being able to trade with them. I'm pretty sure the reason why we didn't get Savio in the summer was largely because Pep Guardiola has a vendetta against Daniel Levy. Now that Levy's gone, does it mean that we can open up the door again and maybe go back in for Savio? Possibly, right? But do I think that Daniel Levy was working under constraints by Enoch, by Joe Lewis and his kids or whatever else, the family, who weren't willing to put the money in when we wanted to? Like, it's a fact. As much people like to ignore it, it's a fact that, when we had that chance to go again on 2018, 2019, we were just in the midst of £1 billion of debt, moving into a new stadium that was overspent, and the commodities price boom, all that stuff, all these things that were just awkward scenarios to walk into. It was a perfect storm of chaos, whereby I said it from the first video I ever did in the Tottenham space. I said the worst thing that could have happened to Tottenham was getting to the Champions League final and losing it the year we moved into the new stadium. And everything from there has been downhill. I also think the expectations of the football club of the fans are too high relative to because of that artificial moment. But yeah, it's chaos. I definitely think that out of adversity comes opportunity. And so I think that things will eventually get better. They will eventually calm down. I think it will be a mess for a long time, but I think eventually it will settle itself down. I don't know. I personally have not been impressed with the behavior of the Lewis children so far. I said it. I mean, Lubo thinks that I'm now Enoch out or whatever. And I've always been open-minded to a new ownership coming in, as long as I can see what that looks like and what their intentions and ambitions are. At the end of the day, though, if Daniel Levy was apparently the cop block of some investment, and all these things were apparently being alleged against him, and that's part of the reason why he's gone, then why is it that those three expressions of interest were flatly rejected by the owners, or by the current owners, when after he'd left the door, after he'd been put to one side? None of the story makes sense. And for me, if you're going to have one person that has too much control over everything, like we had with Daniel Levy, where there was only so many hours in the day, he couldn't literally do three things at once. And that was a problem. He couldn't take his hands off the reins. To then move to a system where you've now got some flat, horizontal, hierarchical structure with a bunch of number twos that have all been elevated to number ones of their own division, but there is no overarching leader apart from Vinay, who his very first major decision was to pick a lane of Paratici or Lang, and he couldn't do either. That to me tells me everything I need to know about him, that he's a little bit gutless in the tough decisions. Daniel Levy would have made that decision. He might have been right or it might have been wrong. And if it was wrong, the fan base would have absolutely gone after him. Are the fan base going after Vinay for the shit show that's been the Paratici saga? Not that I've seen. Because people still want to find a way to make it about Daniel Levy. And for what it's worth, whenever I hear this, like when good things happen in the window, it was Vinay. Daniel Levy was a lame duck. Whenever bad things happened in the window, it was still Daniel Levy that was in charge. So there's this kind of like Levy derangement syndrome that exists within certain aspects of the fan base that still want to hold him accountable for everything that's bad, and everything that is good in the minutiae gets allocated elsewhere. That can't go on anymore. I want to see the same energy being applied to the current vision, the current version, the current model as has been applied in the past. I doubt it will be, but I'd like to see it. And the last thing I'll say is that Thomas Frank needed a victory against a big team like Liverpool to be able to get the monkey off his back. He beat City away, but that for some reason doesn't count in the Tottenham eyes because we always beat City. But he needed a big victory. He had that chance, He had that chance against Liverpool and he was screwed over by his own players for their stupidness. It wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't Thomas Frank's fault what happened on the weekend. It was the players that screwed him over. They shot themselves in the foot. He needs a big victory. The club need a massive signing in January. They need a record signing. They need to sign someone like a Savio. They need to go and sign, I doubt it will ever happen, but a Keenan Yildiz, just to stop this kind of this trend of people wanting to leave, right? You had the guy who's gone to Colorado Rapids. Good luck to him, right? But he's left. Paratici's fucked off the first opportunity he could get. And by the way, what a disrespectful, ungrateful, disloyal prick he is after we stood by him for 3 years of his outrageous behavior from his previous conduct. And just because he wasn't filling his own pockets, it doesn't mean that his behavior was okay, right? If you were the victim of, if you were a supporter of another club in Italy and Juve were cooking the books to maintain their own supremacy, that we wouldn't have that if it was Manchester City doing it, just because Tiki wasn't filling his own pockets, or Pep Guardiola wasn't filling their own pockets, and Chelsea, right? Like Chelsea have got 74 breaches. We're not okay with any of that. Yet we all stood by stood by Paratici, as did Daniel Levy. I said it was weird at the time, didn't agree with that, and now he's come back after 2 years in the shadows, and then pisses off at the first sign 2 months in. Left us in the lurch 2 weeks before a January window opens, a massive window. It's outrageous. On all these little parts, it's really poor. Tottenham Hotspur need a massive bit of news that's positive about this club very fucking soon. Sorry to swear. Because at the moment, it just looks like it's rats fleeing a sinking ship.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, Rain, I can't... Yeah. There's a lot I'd love to disagree with Sean on that, but when you actually put all our opinions to one side on other matters, he's pretty much summed up our football club there. It's a shit show, and it needs some positivity from somewhere, doesn't it? So,
I mean, this is where we are, right? This is what we've been saying. Sean's just given us a 5-minute summary of everything. I had an X post from somebody who is not a massive Spurs, not a massive person on X who does Spurs stuff, but somebody who I follow, and he posted a clip of Rio Ferdinand, Glenn Hoddle, and Gary Lineker going nuts for the semi-final, the Ajax semi-final, and he said, "I just want this Spurs back," and that is what Sean's talking about. That's what people think. That's where Spurs, were. We were never there. We had a paper thin squad. We had a decent team that was dying. Poch knew it. Poch knew that team was dying. He was desperate. In his press conferences, he was getting more and more desperate that he wasn't getting players in. He wasn't getting all that talk about houses and furniture, right? Sure. About having a wonderful house but not enough furniture, was all because Poch could see where the club was going. Poch knew. He knew what was happening. It's always been that way, which goes into Lubo's point, that we've always kind of been papering over the cracks. We've always been getting the odd player here and there, but never actually building, the big thing. And I mean, I've said it here. I'm not clear what Vinay is doing, and there's a lot of energy for Frank. But I've been looking at Vinay, and I don't see what's going on. I don't, they need to pull their fingers out and actually get stuff done.
Because... Right, wasn't he meant to be a master communicator? Like we were told that, one of the positives from his time at Arsenal was that he actually communicated. And I think in this period of time, like Sean's saying, when the results are not going well, when players are turning us down in the transfer market and assistant managers leaving and director of football looks like he's leaving, we've had no communication at the time when we need it. When everything seemed rosy in the summer and it was, hey, here's our new manager and this is a new beginning, they were very vocal on YouTube, putting videos out to us. Where are they now? Like, is it no news, good news, or do we need to hear something?
We're back to Frank being asked about Paratici I loved his press conference. I loved his most recent press conference, and he was asked, about Paratici, and he just went flat bat. He went, "You're just going to have to ask somebody else in the club. This is nothing to do with me." And that's where we are. Who in the club is dealing with this? Who in the club is dealing with the fact that Sean is rightly saying that this fan base, this club,
who in the club is dealing with Sean? That should have just been.
We need something massive that everybody can get behind and go, yeah, there's a massive positive story here.
Yeah.
that is related to Tottenham Hotspur. And who is going to do that who's going to do that in January? Langer isn't. Langer is not the guy.
That's what all the
who's
Spurs
going to go and get you a player.
Semenyo was going to be, right? Like, because you know, in this fan base, we get one player in our minds, don't we? And we fixate. Like Eze was the one in the summer. You know, we've had this every window we fixate, and I think for many, that Semenyo hope, which I never believed in, I think was that moment, Rain. I think that was what everyone was saying. Right, Spurs go and get Semenyo. Oh my God, look at the I hate calling them the Lewis kids, but look at Enoch. They mean business. When the realization kind of slowly but surely crept into people who were delusional to think that he might join us, we're now all scrambling around going, right, well, what are you going to do to make it positive for us? And nobody knows, Rain.
And everyone's going, oh, they're investing 100 million into the club. We got 100 million. We don't need Enoch to give us 100 million quid. They just need to spend the money that we've got, invest the capital that we've already got properly. We're not a poor club.
For liquidity purposes, we needed some money in the club. We definitely did.
Well, then get the liquidity, but it shouldn't be a headline. Is what my point is. My point is a club like Tottenham Hotspur, an organisation like Tottenham, a 4 billion capitalisation organisation like Tottenham Hotspur should not have a problem getting £100 million in finance. It should not be a headline. It should be a baseline for what a club like Tottenham Hotspur does on less than a baseline on a season by season basis. And yet at Tottenham Hotspur, it's like, oh, we're doing 100 million. I'm not bought. I don't see what New Enoch is doing. I don't see what Vinay is doing. I hold them more accountable for where we're going to be in 6 months than Frank.
Or than Levy.
Lubo?
Levy's gone. Levy's
past. I mean, but I hold Enoch more accountable for the decline than Daniel Levy.
I like the way that Rain called it New Enoch.
New Enoch.
the new English national investment company that we've only seen since the summer. I love it. Lubo, the boys aren't wrong, right? Like, and that's where I've tried to steer my channel lately, is away from let's all blame one person. Something's got to give at this club, and I don't know what that is. I don't have an answer. Now, what's the baby steps we take now to having something positive and getting fans bought on side to being in love with Spurs again? What's the steps?
To get the fans falling in love with Tottenham again, I think you bring Pochettino back to unite the fan base. Now there's an itch there that everyone wants to scratch, and until that's scratched, that will always be there. And I think get him in next season. And
isn't that putting a plaster over what needs surgery though? Like I don't know about you.
No,
right?
He will know, Sam. He'll know what needs to be done. He'll know.
Sure, but we're assuming that someone like Frank doesn't, or that Ange didn't, or that Conte didn't. Isn't this a case again that all eyes go on the manager? And I get it because of results, and we're football fans, and they're the first person, as Sean always says, they're the first person that will be put in the firing line, right, to take the heat. But Pochettino comes back in. I don't know about you guys. I know the ages of all of us on this panel. I like to think, as a grown-ass man who uses his brain, just them bringing Poch back doesn't make me go, yeah, this club's going in the right direction. I will sit here and go, I have still got all the same questions about ownership, scouting, plan, project. What players are we buying in? Are they going to back him? Does it really?
But your question was about the fans, wasn't it? What brings the fans back on board? And that was my answer. What you're talking about with the club and the ownership, that's a separate thing. You asked specifically what brings the fans. The fan base is fractured. You've got everybody who loves Ange that's saying, oh, Ange should never have been sacked because he won us a European trophy. We haven't won a European trophy for 41 years. We haven't won an actual trophy for 17 years. Ange is a winner. He always wins in his second season, and all of that. And then you've got everybody. Then you've got fans like me who look at the bigger picture. And yes, for me, the players went to Ange and said, we've got to change his style of football. It's not working. Look at the results over the last God knows how many months. And Ange had no choice but to obviously go along with them. I look at the last 18 months that Ange had with, God knows, 36 defeats in the league in, I don't know, 66 games, something 34 and 66, 78 points out of 198 under Ange. So for me, and look what Ange did at Forest, took them from 10th to 18th in 5.5 weeks. So for me, I was happy that Ange went, thanks very much, Ange. The Europa League was, we were the best team ultimately in the competition. We rode our luck. We avoided big clubs in the knockout stages, pretty much. But at the end of the day, you can only play who's put in front of you, and we won the tournament, so full marks. So you've got Ange v Frank the whole time. It's been like this for months and months.
It's so boring.
That's all it's been. So if you're saying how do you get everybody united? How do you get everybody? Ange and Frank will be forgotten about when Poch comes in. But
can I ask you though, Lubo, Willie, because there are a lot of fans that don't feel like this. There's a lot of Spurs fans that I speak to that are like, I don't want Poch. And I don't think it's that they didn't rate him. I think that a lot of fans kind of acknowledge that, first of all, it's that old notion, isn't it, of never go back to an ex type thing. You never go back. It's never as good. Second of all, will he be able to recreate? I know he didn't win anything, but would he be able to recreate what he did the first time? That is what everyone would be expecting, right?
Sure.
That he'd be able to recreate. And he's not coming into a Harry Kane or a Son or Alderweireld and Vertonghen and Lurie. He's coming into a really average squad that are miles away from the big clubs. So
whoever you bring in, there's probably 5 or 6 transfer windows.
Agreed.
To bring this club back to being as competitive as Poch's team were for those 2 years. In fact, he finished third in 16, he finished second, and then third and then fourth the year we finished in the year we got to Madrid. So for Spurs to get back to that level, I think it's 5 or 6 windows, because you've got to have 15 in or out, in and out, for me.
With that, I agree. So by your notion, Poch is the guy that the fans will say, right, we will go through some pain as long as it's Poch and not XYZ.
I think he will be given more time by the fans through goodwill based on his previous experience than new managers coming in. That's my feeling. Is he right to come back? Time will tell. Is he coming back to the same squad? Nowhere near. But then he came back to a squad that had Cabal and Adebayor and Capu and others, and Bentaleb, that were okay players, but weren't of the level that you had with Walker and Dembele.
I agree. I was just playing devil's advocate. Yeah. But by the way, I just see one comment that I think is interesting. When people say, I always find it interesting when people in a chat room say fact. I always have to call it out. Right now, this is interesting. When this person said, I disagree, Savva. If the club decides to go big and have massive ambitions and decides to spend big, we could sign these players. If the project is right and we're willing to spend, they will come. Fact. But there's no, again, I'm going to say it, and I know people hate me. Where's the evidence that this is fact? Where's the evidence that just because we're willing to put down 70, 80 million, these players want to come? Semenyo, we inquired about. He don't want to come to Tottenham. So it's not fact, right? Eze, right? Didn't join Tottenham. Not fact. And this is
Savio.
I think this is where it ties into what you were saying just now, Sean. You know, the ambition of the fans is brilliant. I love it. But it's an ambition that is built off of a few moments in the last 10 years rather than any period of sustained success as a big club. So, for example, when Man United go in, doesn't matter how bad Man United are, Man United's name carries them. It carries them because of their history, because of everything, right? Arsenal, City and Liverpool are massive right now. But
Savva, just on that point, super quick, just on that point, did you see Semenyo, right? Like, I would have put my bottom dollar on the fact that Semenyo would have gone to Liverpool to be Salah's replacement. But according to David Ornstein, it was only a choice between United and City. And he chose City. He's chosen City, which is fair enough, right? But like United don't even play with wingers. They play a back three with 2 10s. And they say, there was no truth to the idea that Semenyo was going to play a wing-back role. So they like Semenyo even preferred United over Liverpool to be Salah's replacement, where he's going to play every minute because they've got Curtis Jones and I mean Cody Gakpo's even out injured, and he's an Arsenal fan. So it's not just Tottenham that get cop blocked by the pecking order, but United still have the draw to be able to outclass Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea in the race for a player like Semenyo. What does that tell you?
Well,
United are dog shit.
Well, they said yesterday, though, they said, didn't they, that Arsenal never had any plans to go in January. So that was a non-starter. They said that Liverpool decided now wasn't the right time. And that the only 3 that were definitely in for him until yesterday was Spurs, Man U and City. Now, I'm not a mind reader, but I could have told you the moment Man City's name was in that, there's not a chance Semenyo's going, I want to go and play with Brennan Johnson instead of Erling Haaland. Like it just wasn't going to happen. But my point there, Sean, with it is this isn't a computer game. I know I say this all the time. This isn't a computer game. And for Spurs to get to that level, we need to build again. And that is building sensibly, right? This notion, I keep hearing this, right? See, again, like this, right? Let's talk through this. How did
City do it?
Hang on.
Sorry.
I'm going to put Villa to one side because Villa haven't done it. City and Chelsea. Let's start there. Well, Chelsea were the first club that had a billionaire to the levels that Abramovich had. He came in and completely changed the game and blew everyone out the water. If you offered 15 million, Abramovich can offer 30. If they offered 50 grand a week at the time, Abramovich offers 100. Then City were the next club that got it. That's how they did it. The problem is now, Sam, everyone's got money. So if Spurs can pay 100 million for a player and 300 grand a week, so can Villa.
Teams that have got a higher propensity to win trophies.
Right. And when you're saying, how did Villa do it? Villa haven't done it. What Villa have done is put themselves in a top 4 race every year for the last 4 years by buying sensibly.
But isn't that what Tottenham were in for a long period as well?
Of course,
because
we built sensibly with that team with Ericsson and blah blah blah, and then Poch knitted it together. But I think people are getting confused here, Sean, with the ability to build a team versus the ability to go and just buy yourselves a first class.
The entire reason FFP and PSR exists is because of what Chelsea did, and then latterly what City did. And that whole 90% of all trophies in the last 25 years has been won by 5 teams. I think it's a little bit less now, but like it was a couple of years ago, 75% of all of the trophies that were won in the domestic leagues were won by Chelsea and City for the previous 10 years, up until two or so years ago. Now it's probably like 65% or whatever. So those 2 teams that came in as financial juggernauts before the rules were put in place to stop those things happening in the future. And those 2 teams, by the way, are the 2 teams. One of them faces 75 different infractions of rules. So not only did they have all of the early mover advantage on the wealth gap, they also cheated. It's one thing to have all of the resources in the world to do it. They also allegedly cheated, and Manchester City is facing 115 charges. So, like, and if you're the recipient or the victim of that, like a team like Tottenham Hotspur, you've now got 5 clubs with bigger draws because the propensity to win trophies is a major part of the decision making of what club a player joins.
But let's be real about City as well.
About that shit. People think that the root cause of why Tottenham don't win enough trophies is internally at Tottenham, and it's a big part of it. It's not the only part of it. The things that are happening outside of Tottenham that disrupt the apple cart are also a major part, but no one wants to look into those things, Lubo especially.
But let's be real about City as well, because I think future's bright, future's lily white needs to go and educate himself as to what actually happened 15, 20 years ago at City. And it wasn't instant. It wasn't they came in and then they just bought success. That is not what happened. What happened is they came in and yes, they bought a player. They bought Robinho, who thought he was going to Man United, by the way. He was told he was going to Manchester, and he didn't realise it was blue because he wouldn't have gone to them. He wouldn't have gone to Manchester City, who were a nobody club when they were purchased. No matter what money they were giving him, he wouldn't have gone to them if he'd known that's who he was going to. And then they went through Mark Hughes. You know, they did not buy instant success. What they did was they shortcutted the period it takes to build with money and with all the cheating that Sean's talking about. But it wasn't like they just dropped, you know, they didn't just drop 100 million and went, boom, there you go. We're going to get all the players. That's it. It's not like a computer game. That's not the way that it works. You're dealing with human beings, and that you're dealing with human beings that have to want to be a part of your organization. Right. They built it over 2 or 3 years. Yes, it was quick, but it wasn't instant. Like people, they didn't just drop 100, and boom, it was done.
It was quick for Chelsea. It was quick for Chelsea. Bear in mind, in the early 90s, Chelsea behind one of their goals had a car park.
Yeah.
Right.
Sean, when did Chelsea finish under Ranieri? The year before Abramovich came in and brought Mourinho in?
Yeah, they were working their way up.
Ranieri was there because Ranieri was the first guy to get the Abramovich money. And I always remember it. I always remember laughing about it at the time before I really understood it. I remember like going, he's basically gone, Abramovich's gone, look, listen, you can have whatever you want. Just let me know what you want. But I expect absolute perfection or you're out. And Ranieri's gone, okay. I'm not sure what you mean by absolutely anyone. I'm going to take Jeremy from Middlesbrough. The first player that he signed under Abramovich was Jeremy from Middlesbrough fame. And I think that then he signed 2 or 3 players that were just like, I think Abramovich going, is that what you really want? You know, when you say for Christmas, like, what do you want for Christmas, son? And I go, really, he wants like the best toy in the business, but because he's not sure he can ask for it, he'll ask for something a little bit less. Whereas Mourinho came in and went, yeah, get me Drogba, get me, yada, yada, yada. And then obviously Mourinho came in. I don't know. I can't remember where Ranieri finished in that particular season, but Chelsea were nothing like where they were.
We're nothing like where City were. They'd won some cups. You know, they'd had the little bit of Glenn Hoddle thing as well. You know, they'd had some success. You know, they weren't a massive club. But they'd had a little bit of success.
But the point with this, my point with this is, and this is where I do agree with Sean massively, is I do think that the expectations versus the reality, and I know that that wasn't what you said, Sean, but in a way, of Spurs is wildly different. It's wildly inaccurate. So when you see people that go in, just go and pay, yeah, but the player has to want to come to Tottenham Hotspur as well. Right, we can go in for every one of these players that City, Arsenal, Liverpool all go for. There's nothing stopping us asking their agent, but we all know deep down that right now, if I said to you all, take your Spurs hat off, if we were all pro footballers right now, if any of those clubs came in for you right now and you were a hot property in football, you are joining them over Spurs right now, and that is a harsh reality. So for me, this is not about just go and cherry pick the best players in the world because they don't want to be here. Go and buy sensibly. And again, this is why Sean and I on the side support Aston Villa, because that is what they have done, right? That is what they've done, right? Look,
do you know what really annoys me about that picture, right? Not only do I look like I'm a meth user, but if you pull it back up, right, it's accurately got my left eye on the eye on the right. It looks like I'm bloodshot because I'm drunk and hungover from the obviously the specific picture that was taken. I had a skinful the night before because it got the red bloodshot eyes just quite perfect.
Sean, the eyebrow going up is very Angelotti, isn't it?
Yeah.
but can I just say one thing, right, guys? And then I want to read out some transfer news and also do a few super chats. This is where I think that as a fan base, we confuse buying a couple of players to immediately make success versus actually having the time to build something. And unfortunately, we never, ever want the time to build anything. And it doesn't matter, pluck whatever manager name you want. We've at some stage, we've got to build and we need a plan and we need sensible footballers that can take you from here to there. And then once you've got from there to there, you go, right, okay, we'll go from there to there. We think we can go from, I'm not saying rock bottom, but people think we can go from here to why aren't we competing with Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal like that? And
I think it's worse than that. I think a lot of people think we are actually up here. I think a lot of people think we are actually up here right now. True. It's just that they're in internal, like Frank's the problem. We're not playing the right players. We need to put Johnson up top. You know, it's people think we are up here. Maybe he is.
The fans think we're champions of Europe. We know who we are. We're not champions of Europe. PSG are champions of Europe.
You called West Ham champions of Europe earlier in a previous rebuttal to me.
They won a European trophy.
I've just gone and checked
the argument to fit your narrative, Lou?
David Sullivan has won as many European trophies as Daniel Levy. Fact.
Sean, I've just gone and checked. Villa Talk Show is actually available.
Is it? Okay, I might do it. Yeah, I do a painful transition.
But again, when I talk about them, I know everyone says, "Oh, you spot." I don't. I just really admire that a club that came up, had to sell its best players, came up and implemented a plan. Like I like that. It's not when people say things like, "What have they won?" Yeah, but Aston Villa, they were a championship team 6 years ago, 7 years ago. They've come up, they compete, they're solid, they're hard to beat, and they've done it without actually going to buy any superstars. Not one player they bought was a superstar at a football club, right? If I'm not wrong, guys. They bought sensibly, they bought grown men instead of teenagers, they bought for now, and now look at them, right? Every year they're in that battle for top four. They've not done anything.
They've got an unbelievable manager, though, who commands the respect of the players.
Absolutely, of course. I'm not doubting that, right? And absolutely, if Spurs can get that ilk of manager with that plan to go alongside it, crack on. Let's do it, right? I'm all for it. At the moment, though, I don't even know what the plan is under any manager. Like,
no, I hear you on that. You know, I think that just for me personally, I think the narrative that, we've been regressing so far. We've gone from Ange to Thomas Frank. Nothing's going to change unless everything changes. I to a degree, I do believe that. I agree that there needs to be wholesale change at the football club with intention, with a plan, a process. It needs to be articulated better because the fans will never know what the plan is if no one actually explains it to us. If Vinay came out and said, "Look, this is what we're going to do," right? We're making wholesale changes to the board. We're making wholesale changes to the various directions and all that sort of thing. This is going to take time, guys, right? For those of you that aren't like fully versed in the world of business, when Uber, for example, got rid of the founder, and they brought in a whole bunch of people around the IPO, the share price went up, and then it tanked for 2 years because there was chaos and it was all this, that, and the other. But now Uber's absolutely flying because they got right people in the right place. These things take time. This is our ambition. Yada yada yada. Knock it, like line item it out. Be held accountable to some degree, but at least explain what the process is. If you're supposed to be the communication czar and that's one of the things that everyone loved about Vinay at Arsenal. And he started well to a degree. He communicated a few things, but to me, the communication was always a little bit like, I'm not really sure what you're doing here, but communicate to the fans. Otherwise, you're leaving a hell of a lot of room to interpretation. And the fact that there is no plan and it looks like it's getting worse, To me, someone needs to come out and explain to the fans, look, this is a 3-year process to get back to where we were in 2019. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be ups and downs. And that's not for Thomas Frank to explain, because Thomas Frank is in charge of the first team and what he's got, but he's not in charge of the things that are happening behind the scenes. We need to know, are we going to be continuing on this youth-centric approach? As I said to you earlier in a WhatsApp, Savva, like every other team that you see now fighting and squabbling over 17-year-old talents from Ajax and from Vasco da Gama and from Corinthians and insert whichever, South American team there. None of those people are doing that when they still have gaps in their first team. Right? They all fix their first team first. And then once that's done, then they go and think about tomorrow. We're thinking about tomorrow before we think about today. And that is a massive issue. But if that's the plan, if it's all about tomorrow, which fundamentally I disagree with, because for what it's worth, there is always a 17-year-old wonder kid. There'll be a 17-year-old wonder kid in 2 years' time. There'll be one in 3 years' time. There'll be one in 10 years' time. There's always some new talent somewhere that we can go after. But if that is the plan, at least communicate it. If it's not the plan, then why are we focusing on it all the time? Yep. But unless Tottenham fans have some inclination as to know what the actual direction of the football club is, then we will always be sitting there unhappy because we're not sure whether we're actually thinking about today or we're thinking more about tomorrow.
Agreed. If somebody came out, and it would have to be, you're right, it can't be Frank. It has to be somebody that's in charge of the destiny. And he's not in charge of his own destiny, right? So it has to be someone that comes out, and what they say, Sean, might not be to everyone's liking, but at least we've all been told, and then we do what we want with that information. So if they come out and say, right, at Spurs, we are now, from now on, this is purely going to be a youth project. This is what we're going to build so that in 2030, 2035, we are X, Y, Z. Now, as a fan, then, I can do what I want with that information, Sean. I can turn around and go, well, if that's the case, I don't care who the manager is because it shows we've got no ambition for now and we'll always just be chasing. If they came out and said, look, we've we've sacked Thomas Frank. It hasn't worked. And we've realized what we actually need is we need something that's going to take 2 to 3 years, but we need a level of manager who's been there, seen it, done it. These are the caliber of players we're going to try and buy over the next 3 years. Be patient with us. It's going to be bumpy. I go, as a fan, cool. Thank you for telling me that. But the silence is deafening. We had Vinay and Levy came out and said, we want to win titles and Champions Leagues. But there was this is what we're going to do to go about that. This is how we're going to do it. And as I've said to everyone a million times, these next 2-3 windows are going to show us what are they about. I'm not expecting to compete with City and Arsenal and Liverpool for players. I'm not. But there are so many footballers out in the world. Go and be sensible. Go and find sensible players right now that can just make us stable for a year. Come out and tell us. We're going to go and buy some seasoned pros. We're going to stabilise the club. Right? But we don't do it. No one talks. No one tells us anything.
Ultimately, actions are better than words, right? And ultimately, in a vacuum, in a communication vacuum, the fans are going to make their own mind up. And unfortunately, as I always say, it's 50,000 fans in the stadium and there's 100,000 opinions on any one topic, right? Because everybody will just like, oh, I've got this opinion, this opinion, this opinion, this opinion. So unless there's good communication, you'll just get chaos. You'll get disquiet in the stadium. Look where we are, right? You'll get disjointed direction. That all feeds through to the players on the pitch. Lubo might know more about this than me. I got the impression that there used to be dissemination of communications through the supporters trust, through fan groups that had links and would communicate with the board, with Levy and the ownership, and that would kind of trickle down into the fan base. Obviously, then you've got the other types like Madrid and Barcelona, where they elect their president, and those conversations are absolutely fundamental to the way that the the club is run. Isn't this what we're talking about? Isn't this what the Fab was supposed to be about?
Rain, I'm part of the Supporters Trust, and the trust started meeting the club, I think it was every 3 months. Then it went out to 6 months. It finished up. Donna Cullen was taking it. Levy couldn't even be bothered to get involved. They fobbed off the trust, and the trust do a lot of good work behind the scenes that's not tangible. That's not, they'll sit down with police regarding the safety of fans away on European trips. They've been going at the club regarding the club taking away discounts for senior citizens. They work with police on lots of other safety measures for home and away games. They were very good working trying to help bring the ticket prices down for away games so that there's a £30 maximum cap on away tickets, even though Daniel Levy was the only manager out of 20 that went against this when it went to the vote. They've done a lot of good work, but the problem is that I always thought Donna Cullen was meant to be director of communications. The communications between the club and the fans for years and years has been absolutely dreadful. And again, people will say, "Oh, he's getting on his high horse." Levy treated the fans like shit, had no respect for the fans whatsoever, and that showed in the lack of communication. The fans didn't know anything. All you got from Levy was what he put in the program at the end of the season or at the beginning of the season, and that was it. And it was nothing. It was talking a lot without saying anything. And the fans have been left in the dark for decades now. So nobody knows what's going on. The only time that we hear what's going on is when the manager has a press conference. And it's all very well Vinay coming out with Levy and doing these videos. But where's Vinay been in the last few months? We haven't seen him.
Just quickly, Rain needs to go, Lubo. Just quickly. I know that Rain needs to bounce. We'll come back to it. Rain, listen, thanks so much, man, and have a wonderful Christmas, whatever you do.
And to you, mate, and to everybody in chat, Lubo, Sean, everybody in chat. Have a great Christmas. Let's keep it together, and let's have a bit of a break, and we'll come back for Palace, see where. Yeah,
we'll all kick off again. Yeah, don't worry about it.
See you later, guys.
See you later, mate. Just quickly, some transfer news that's coming in from Mike McGrath, who's normally pretty much on the money. He said Crystal Palace are now firmly in the race for Jorgen Strand Larsen. Now, that's not the interesting news. The interesting news is this next bit. It says they also hold a strong interest in his Wolves teammate, João Gomez. Now, I will be absolutely pissed off if Crystal Palace manage to get a player like João Gomez and we don't. I will be... Now, maybe that's succession planning. Maybe they know that Wharton's going somewhere in the summer. But shouldn't that be a player that we're all over? Not Strand Larsen. Someone like João Gomez, about to get relegated with Wolves, really good, tidy midfielder. Like, where are we in these comments? Why are we not linked with these players? Well,
again, if Paratici goes, you've got a bit of a vacuum there, haven't you? Again, is Lang up to it? Look at the players that Lang brought in overall. Look at the overall level. He brought in, after Paratici left, Ange made 18 signings, 4 went into the first team, and then you had Bergvall that was in and out. And Gray had a few games, but only because there were injuries. The rest of them were all squad players. He hardly brought any players in. And the last 3 windows, we only had Solanke that came into the first team.
My point is
underwhelming.
Who at the club right now? Like, I'm just using this guy as an example, by the way. Right, I think he's a top player. This lad, I think he's miles better than a Wolves. again, it looks like someone like Palace have got a good scouting network, are actually looking at succession or building.
Sure.
How are we going to replace our players? They do it so well. Then I look at us and it just feels like there's never any dots being connected. It feels like it's hit and hope. It feels like, if you throw enough shit, some of it's going to stick. It's quite embarrassing, to be honest. I find it quite embarrassing.
It's just horrendous. I feel devastated at what's happened to our club. I really do.
Yeah.
People talk about being in the mud. This is a prime example. I honestly, I'm normally positive and upbeat. I think what's gone on as the season's gone on this year, I think the football's got worse. The results have got worse. Now you're looking at Matty Wells, who was very highly rated. Okay, listen, he's gone for the number one job. He's had to go to America to get it, but that is a loss for Spurs. Paratici leaving. Whatever people think of Paratici's signings previously, when you compare, for me personally, when you compare his signings to what Lang has brought in, Paratici's on a different level. That will be a loss for Spurs short term until we get that sorted out. If Vinay has taken sides with Lang and Frank, and this is the reason why Paratici's going, then for me that's poor judgment. If this is all speculation, if that's the case, then Vinay, what are you doing? We don't seem to be progressing, do we? That's the worry.
Are you Vinay out, Lubo? Sorry? Are you Vinay out?
And I don't know. He's been there for a few months, Sean. What I am starting to feel again, and I put on the WhatsApp group, as you read this morning, that
I read something this morning. Yeah, 100%.
I was prepared to, at the end of the day, Joe Lewis is no longer involved with Spurs, nor is Daniel Levy. So you've got two people that have come in, hopefully with fresh ideas, hopefully that aren't just following the ENIC mantra from the last 25 years. And you just hope, as a Spurs fan, it's the hope that kills you. And you just hope that these kids, kids, they're 63 and 60, have seen what's winning, how big the club was with Bilbao and the parade. And they actually looked at it and they thought, you know what? Let's get our teeth into this. This is a project. It's not about the money with them. They've got their family's worth billions and billions. It's about a challenge. It's about a purpose in life. And maybe, hopefully, they're looking at it with that purpose, saying, let's go and challenge the big clubs. Let's go and make Spurs the force they used to be. So for me, that's the hope. But if they have, what they've done is that they've taken a step back. They've let Vinay run it. They're building this new structure where they brought various people in to do all the different jobs that Levy was doing himself. And they've taken a step back, and have they taken too many steps back? Because they want people to run the club. Why?
So are you saying bring Levy back?
Why the dog and bark yourself?
So basically, what you're saying is Levy in, ENIC out. So if we had oil money to come in, Qatar plus Levy, Lubo would be great.
No. I'll tell you what I'm saying, Sean. What I'm saying is that if these guys are out of their depth, if they are employing people, and listen, you can't just judge. You have so much upheaval. You can't just judge in a handful of months. If this is going pear-shaped, then for me, I think they will be. Gray may well go out on loan. They may think, do you know what? This isn't working. I can't be asked. This is going to need massive investment. And they may turn around and say, do you know what? One of the three parties that offered have dropped out because two of their consortium pulled out. But the other two, go back to them and see if those offers stand and sell the club. Because for me now, I'll be marching, Sean, with you and Billy T and Stell. I think the club now needs a complete break.
You can't march against ENIC, mate. You were delighted when the new kids took over. You can't do that.
No,
you're the biggest flip-flop.
I'm going to tell you, I was delighted when Levy went. I was delighted when Levy went because to me, he has cock-blocked us as a football club for 25 years. If these kids are not good enough,
us to a Champions League final and Europa League champion.
No, it doesn't. But Sean, Sean, you're talking about bits. You're talking about moments. Let's talk
massive moments. Massive moments that most clubs will never dream of getting to.
No. Let's talk about having a club.
Let's talk again about Bruno versus Gedson, shall we? That's what we're doing. Moments, yeah, moments.
No, moments. Let's talk about a club that's going to be sustainable and that's going to be challenging year after year, like Liverpool, like City, like United, like Chelsea, United every bit, like Chelsea, like Arsenal. Can we not have that club? Can we not have that club? We have the financial power. Why can't we? And we've had it for years. Why can't we be up there?
Why do we have the financial power, though, Lubo? Why do we have the financial power?
There's no point having all this money to spend.
Why do we have it? Why do we have it?
There's no point. Hang on, hear me out. There's no point, and I'm gonna kill you here. There's no point having all this money if players don't want to join. We've got 190 million in, and no one wants to join. Sean, seriously.
The reason we are where we are is because of Daniel Levy's unbelievable genius.
No. But we're a football club, Sean. You might be a money man. That might float your boat.
But the money's what it takes to get us there. Oh. And Daniel Levy needed the more money at the time, and he weren't prepared
he never spent it at the right time, did he? He didn't
get the backing from Enoch. Your anguish should have been at Enoch, not at Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy was just a fool guy, and you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Can I ask you a question, though? Let me ask you a question. For years and years,
still waiting to be killed, though, Lubo. Still waiting to be killed.
No. Guys, we've got all the money and no players, Sean.
Guys, I'm as guilty as the next guy, right? Or the next girl, or whatever. But is this constant pursuit of saying to be like City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea, we need to do X, Y, Z? Is it just a case that we're not that club? Like the hundreds of other clubs that aren't as good as those 3 or 4 clubs as well. Is it just a case that we're not going to be that club, and that to be that sort of a club, you need to have had that history. You need to have that pull, because it doesn't seem to matter what happens with these clubs. They can yo-yo up and down for a few years. They always find their way back to the top, don't they? They always find their way back to the top because they can always buy top players. They've got the history. Could it be that we're just not that club? And we never have been that club. Could it be that?
Why can't we be that club? Sorry, we're Tottenham Hotspur. This is a big club. It's not
no. So you've not listened to my question then?
Why can't we be that?
No. So okay. So I'm asking. Sure. Okay, but who has ever broken? Who has in the? If we look at the last 2, 3, 4 decades, these clubs have been the biggest clubs. Period. Throughout that time, right? We know why City and Chelsea broke into it, but Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United have been there for 30, 40, 50. We've never been that club. So why would we be now? Why will players suddenly go, yes, Spurs, yes?
Lubo doesn't have an answer because Lubo made his mind up years and years. Let me get to Lubo. Lubo decided a long time ago that Tottenham Hotspur, there's no excuse to not be winning championships all the time. He'll dance around by going, I don't expect us to win these all the time.
Come on, Sean. Let me finish something.
One at a time.
Let it be factual. Let me
finish my point. Luba likes to dance around his ambitions by saying, I'm not saying that Tottenham we haven't got an expectation or an entitlement to trophies, but in reality, the fact of the matter is that we've got to, in the 25 years, about 8 different finals, 1-1 or 1-2. We lost on penalties to Manchester United in 2012. There was lots of semi-finals along the way, lots of quarterfinals, etc. We've been an ever-present 15 years of the last 17. We've been in European football, most of them in the Champions League. We have been the person that's knocked on the heaviest of doors, the Fort Knox of doors, which is breaking through that kind of glass ceiling. And yet, so in reality, Luba, as long as you caveat your thing, I'm not saying we have entitlement to trophies, but it is the trophy gap that you find as the ultimate reason why you're so unhappy with our ownership. You expect Tottenham Hotspur to be at the very top. You say that you don't, but you do, because everything else that you say, if it wasn't for that thing, then we were there or thereabouts every single time. Every single time we were there or thereabouts. But because we didn't win the trophies that you claim we don't have any entitlement to win, that's the reason why you're so angry. And you fit the narrative to meet your modal, which is that Daniel Levy and Enoch or Daniel Levy primarily is the biggest cop block on Tottenham Hotspur, but he wasn't. He was working to ENIC's model, and every expectation that you think that, or the club, the fans have, is because of where he took us to, that artificial high, that perennial, that sort of 6-year period when we were knocking on the door. That was all under Daniel Levy's tenure. We've fallen back from there. He's almost a victim of his own close to success. But your story, your narrative doesn't end up where your final solution is. We don't have expectations of success, but we got to everything but that for so long, and you hate our previous chairman as a consequence.
I'll give you two answers for that. Firstly, in terms of trophies, 61, 62, 63, 67, 71, 72, 73, 81, 82, 84, 91, 99, all before ENIC. 1 league championship, 6 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 3 European trophies. We won a league team, but we were a cup team, and we were a relevant team. We were a relevant team that top players came to. We broke transfer records.
But the teams that used to win the cups didn't win the leagues, Lubo. Right. These days that's changed. Right. Again, you don't look at that kind of context.
Hang on one second. You spoke, let me answer. Let me bring it up. Let me bring it forward. We only challenged for the league under Levy in 2 years. That was it. Those two, 15-16 when Leicester won it, and then 16-17 when Chelsea won it. Those were the 2 seasons only in 25 years. In terms of cups, the performance level has dropped. Now, what I'm saying is that they would spend enough money to take us to a certain level that kept the fans on board, that kept us semi-competitive. And Levy was lucky because he had...
Here you go. Lucky.
Hang on.
How he works the luck.
Hang on one second. Listen, nothing wrong with being lucky, Sean.
It's not luck, though, is it? It's not luck.
You haven't let me finish yet. Let me explain what I mean. He had people like Paul Barber, Michael Edwards that came on board.
That he hired.
Right, hang on. He managed to push them out because they didn't want to work.
So it was luck that he hired them, but it was by design that he pushed them out. See how the narrative is so palpable, Lubo.
He brought people in that were good choices, but he managed to lose them. Redknapp didn't back him. Poch didn't back him. Jose didn't back him. Conte didn't back him. They never straight. Now you can call it ENIC. You can dress it up as you want. Call it ENIC. Call it Lewis and Levy. Because to me, the 2 of them were to blame. You can't separate. Levy didn't make every single decision in the 25 years. But he was running the club. He was given carte blanche to run the club on a day-to-day basis. He was at all the meetings.
When he needed more money, and then he wasn't given it.
Right. But there were other situations, Sean. That was Conte, where he went to Lewis for more money, and Lewis said no. But there were previous occasions where Cahill and Tevez in 2012.
Oh, we're not doing this again, mate. I can't. No, I've got other things to do. Listen to
Sean, there are situations.
As individual. 13 years ago, you're going to talk about fucking Tevez. What are we doing here?
There were situations where if you take advantage of an advantageous position you are in, and you take advantage, the opportunity comes up, you take it. If you don't, you drop back.
You don't know if Carlos Tevez would have been a success. But I can't sit here and listen to you once again, go back 13 years to make a point about one player. One player wouldn't have made the difference.
Okay, no, but maybe winning a championship, maybe
you call everything. You know what? I honestly can't bother. It's one. I've got to go. I can't do this again. I can't do it again.
All right.
So annoying. But I love you to pieces, Luke. I love you to pieces. I'm going to jump. It's
mind-numbingly
frustrating to hear that.
Are you going to go for another 5-10 minutes to see us, Sean?
You can't answer me. You can't. These are facts, Sean. But they're facts. They're facts.
I'll tell you what else is fact, though. This is. And again, I know some people in the chat don't understand that I have to play devil's advocate and ask questions, right? But just in the background, looking at data that I already knew, when we talk about why aren't we that club, I'm not just saying this about Spurs. There's not many clubs who are that big, like really big. Like when you want to look at what Arsenal have won and Liverpool have won and City, Chelsea and Man United, outside of those big 5 clubs, and we know why City and Chelsea are in there, unfortunately, but they got in there at the right time and they did their thing. I bet you we will be sitting here in 20 years' time, right? And we will still be having the same conversation. Now, maybe 1 or 2 teams have managed to win a title. But the point is this, right? I'm going to show you this. The point is this. When we look down the years at the champions, right? Don't know if everyone can see that, right? A list of Premier League champions by number of titles, right? Now, let me blow that up a little bit. 1 second, right? And my point is that you might have a team that manages to win it. Like Leicester and Blackburn managed to win 1 title each. Other than that, the majority of everything is won by the big clubs, right? And how does a club like Spurs get into there and create that history? I almost think at this stage, it's almost impossible. Now, that's not impossible to win a title, but this is where it's at, right? This is where it's at. The big boys win all the big pots over and over and over again. They can attract all the big players over and over and over again. And I just don't see that we are that club. And I don't know how we become that. How do Villa become that? How do Newcastle become that? I don't think they do. I think teams like us, like them, have good moments in time. And those other clubs are just bigger, better, and get shit done. And that doesn't mean I like it. But look, the data's there. The facts are there. Right? Look at how many league titles is that between them? 30 and 8. That's 21, 26, 29, 31, 33 titles. 5 clubs have won 31 of them. Like, what do you know what I mean? It is what it is. It is what it is, right? And I think that we're all, listen, I want the ambition, right? I want the ambition to be there from fans and from the club. But what some fans want to be created just feels like a massive pipe dream. There's a reason why Blackburn won it once and faded away. Leicester won it once and faded away. Right? I just don't know if that's ever going to change. I don't know how that changes.
What was the point then, Sav? We were the best team, point for point, over those 2 years. We won more points than any other club. It's just a shame we finished 2nd and 3rd. But we were the most consistent club for 2 years. We had great players in. They decided to build the grounds. They spent 1.2 billion building this grounds. What was the point of building the grounds? Seriously, what was the point of it?
I've said this the whole way along, Lubo. I was shouted down back in the day when I was on Twitter, right? I was shouted down when I said this stadium's going to do nothing, and I was told, "Oh, you're negative," and I was like, "It's not going to change anything," right? Look, I agree with you, but again, look how you started that. It was for that 2-year period. There will be teams that come up and look at Leicester. Leicester had that amazing year when they win it. Doesn't mean they're going to now continue to go on buy top players. Leicester were never going to be able to attract top players even after winning the league.
No,
that's life.
But Sav, after those 2 years, we still finished second, third, fourth. You know, we were still up there. Leicester just dived. Leicester just dropped straight down. That was an anomaly. That was a one-off. That was a fantastic year for them. God, I wish I had that year. I've been following them 60 years. I've never seen Spurs win the league. So, but for me, again, it's always missed opportunities, and it's that the club don't think they're missed opportunities because they're not looking for the opportunities. It was only about building a financial powerhouse. That's all it was ever about.
I agree.
So for me, you know, if they'd have been in the football game properly and looking to make us, we were a big club before they joined. We were a big club. Alan Sugar took control. Spurs chairman took control of the negotiations with Sky. That's where we were as a club. We were part of the Big Five. So I don't want to hear people say, we've never been a big club. We might not have won many
but not like those clubs.
Titles.
We've never been like those clubs big. That's the difference. We've not been. And this is where I must
tell you, so between 67 and 1992, 93, United didn't win the league for 26 years.
I'm not saying I know, but what they've created since then has allowed them to do what they do. Man United can finish bottom of the table and top players still want to sign for them.
Sure.
Right, let me ask you this question, and I'll ask everyone in the chat as well. So, right, this league title will be the winners of the 2026 Premier League title, right? So, between 2026 and 2036, there will be 10 more league winners. Yeah? In the next 10 seasons, we'll have 10 more league winners. I know you're thinking that's obvious, Sav, right? Let me ask you all in the chat, ask you, Lubo. In that decade, in this next decade coming up, how many teams do you think win the league that don't come from Man U, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea? Let me get your predictions. How many teams do you think that are not currently winning league titles will win a league title in the next decade?
Well,
I'm going to go with 0. I'm going to go with no one. I think it will be those 5 clubs again will win all the league titles.
Well, let's start with this season. Although they're third favourites, if they stay injury free,
you're going to say Villa.
Refereeing decisions go for them. I mean, let's look at the run they're on at the moment. If this continues, this was similar to, do you remember when Chelsea lost to Arsenal 3-0 and then Conte, the year they beat us into second place, Conte then switched to a back 3. And I think they won 13 on the spin. And Villa are approaching those sort of statistics. So
they are.
If they keep this going, listen, they're third.
You think they're going to win the league? Yes or no? Are Villa winning the league?
They're in at the moment. They're in with a shout. They're one of 3 teams.
Are they winning the league?
How it goes going forward depends on injuries, doesn't it? Injuries, refereeing decisions. Nobody knows. There are so many. Unfortunately, the way football is today, you look at even Saturday. Referee gives Simmons a yellow. VAR give him a red. Simmons is out now for 3 games. So situations like that can happen to Villa, City, or Arsenal. A key player is out. Points get dropped. The other teams win their games, and on they go. You just don't know. You don't know.
No,
with football today.
Sure. But equally, realistically, I think most football fans in the world right now aren't seriously saying that Villa are going to beat Arsenal or Man City to this title.
No,
right? Because it's December.
Because of previous years. Previous years.
I get it, but my point is, over the next 10 years, so Villa might this year. I don't think they will at all. I think they'll fall away. City are too strong. Arsenal are too strong for Aston Villa in terms of squad depth, right? But in the next 10 years, I think Lee Enigma made the point. There'll probably be one team that wins it in the next 10 years that is a bit of a Leicester City anomaly type. But the point why I'm saying this is, can anyone see a club that isn't one of those big 5 clubs coming into that pack in the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and winning it 3 or 4 times in a decade, right? At the moment, I can't see that. I've not seen that from anybody for the last 30 years. The clubs that win it are the big boys. They are the big clubs. They attract the best players. They always will. So I do feel we're a little bit harsh when we talk about. I saw a post yesterday, Lubo, someone going, Spurs are pathetic not being able to get Semenyo over City. And I thought, this has got to be a wind-up. Like, surely you understand that we don't compete with those clubs. Surely we get that.
The crying shame is that financially, Sav, we can compete with those clubs.
Sure, but it's not, as I keep telling you, Danny, anyone else who keeps saying put the money down, it's not about that.
If you get to a point where you are attractive enough to buy these players, then you need that financial muscle to buy them. Because the top players demand commands, should I say, the top wages. So we would be better placed financially than most teams to jump into that bracket. But we have got to have. For me personally, I think the only way we do that is if new owners come in, bring in. It's a new broom. It's fresh ideas, and they are determined to go for it, and they are committed to footballing success. For me, that's the answer. That is the only way that we're going to. maybe not. Maybe, I'm not saying break into that top group. Not saying win the league, but suddenly become competitive like Poch was.
No, I understand. I understand that. And I think there's a huge difference between having the money and being desirable. And this has always been my big thing. And I think most fan bases other than our fan base seem to understand this. The top players don't want to join Tottenham Hotspur. And I see loads of fans that just say stuff like, we'll do this to get them, do that. They don't want to join Tottenham. Like, this is obvious. If they've got no other options, they might. But the big clubs will get the big players. And this is why I think we need to know what we are and build sensibly. But no one wants a sensible build. And unfortunately, that's where we're at.
So let me just answer, because Warren Paul Williams likes having a pop at me every single show I'm on. I'm not a dreamer, Warren. I've been there. I've seen the glory days at Spurs. We were a big club. We were one of the big five. We've allowed ourselves to be overtaken. I'm not saying we should have gone in and been doing what Chelsea and City have allegedly done, but we could have gone in and we could have done better than we did. We could have made more of an effort.
I agree
to be a big club. These guys have never stretched themselves. They've only ever used Spurs as a vehicle to build their wealth. And they, when they bought the club, they spent 22 million on 29%. The club was worth 76 million when they bought them at the end of 2000, and now it's worth whatever they can get. I mean, conservatively, you look at 3, possibly 4 billion. So they have actually, I think they've now spent 350 million with all the shares that they've bought. But this is a big club. This is a big club. This even in the 90s. What
did you think? That's the problem.
No. But Sav, pre-ENIC, even in the 90s, when we only won 2 cups, we attracted Jurgen Klinsmann. We attracted Les Ferdinand, who was an England centre forward at the time. We attracted Anderton. We attracted Sheringham. We were able to attract these top players that the other big clubs would have all bought. We don't do that anymore.
I understand that. I mean, but football has evolved.
We won cups, Sav, on a consistent basis. We won 13 in 38 years, which is more, I think, than virtually every other team, maybe bar Liverpool. So, we were a big club in terms of trophies. Everybody talks about the size of Tottenham, how great Bilbao was, how great the parade was. The parade, I went to one parade, it was nowhere near as big as Bilbao, but then football is so much bigger now than it was in the last century. But Spurs are a big club, and ENIC have not taken Spurs with the other as other clubs have gone forward. We've never gone with them. So, but we can go with them. So, and with new owners who want to take Spurs back to their former stature, Spurs can do it. They have the money now.
Sure, but hang on. But this is where we disagree. When you say back to our former stature, we've never been a league-winning team since the 60s.
No, we've been a regular cup-winning team.
Yeah. Hang on. That's not what I'm talking. But again, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these big boys. They win the big pots, right? They win the big pots. We've never been that club. Now, for Spurs, for me to get to any level of competing with them, and we did for a few years under Poch, but for me, I never thought the title races were as glamorous as others thought. I never thought we were anywhere near winning it. We were just there or thereabouts for both those years. But the problem was, and Danny makes a great point in the chat, I don't agree with a lot of what Danny says with the players, but it's right. Back in the 90s and that, there were top players everywhere, right? Yeah. There were top players everywhere. Now, you see Semenyo from Bournemouth has suddenly become the hot property. This time last year, no one was saying that. So this now is fads. And the problem is when you get a fad and a player suddenly becomes the next big thing, everyone puts him on a pedestal, every club goes for him. And we can't compete with that. And when you mention that to Spurs fans, they get really up. Why can't we get him? Why wouldn't he pick Spurs? Well, he'll want more minutes than going to Man City. Well, everyone who's said any of this silly stuff has just been proved absolutely wrong. Where is Semenyo going, Lubo?
He's going to probably go to City, I would think.
Right. And why is he going to City? Everyone talked about, but he won't be guaranteed minutes. But
I think because they've been the most successful club in the last 15 years. Guardiola's the most successful high-profile manager as well, and the style of football that they play. So you put all of those things together. That's what makes City attractive, and those are the three reasons that you want a player to join your club, aren't they?
Sure. So, but every time this happens, we all start pretending, yeah, but we can offer him guaranteed game time, and you're like, sorry, are people in that much denial that they think guaranteed game time at Tottenham is going to be worth more than joining Pep Guardiola and Man City? And this goes down to what Sean was saying. The expectation is great. It's great that everyone's got these delusions that we are as big as these clubs and can compete. But let's be honest, all of the people have been coming out, haven't they? All of the Ornsteins, the Romanos coming out saying Spurs inquired, were kept at arm's length, but were never really in the race because he had bigger fish to fry. And I get where we are. Now, the argument for me, where I'll go back against myself a little bit, was when we were good under Poch, for example, when we did have that good 11 under Poch, and it was only a good 11, it wasn't a good squad, right? That was the moment where I think you could have turned around to players and gone, hey, look what we've built. Now we want to keep building, and you're going to be playing with Kane and Son and Eriksen, and we didn't. But now to get back to that point is going to be a slog. Like, I see people going, well, if we just sign 3 positions, we'll get there. Football's moved on. Football is now a 25-man squad. Football isn't about an 11. Football is about a squad and having the players that can compete. Football is about, if we're in the Champions League, you need a good squad of players that you can rotate each week because you're playing every 3 days. And our fans talk loads and loads about being a big club. Our owners are now saying about being a big club, but we don't act like it. We still think small, right? And that's because we're not used to winning. We're not used to it being a big, big, big club. And
it's mentality. It's mentality. Huh? It's mentality. For me, it's owners of any business have either got a drive and a desire and a commitment to be successful. And football, football's two sides. You've got the financial side today, and you've got the playing side. And our owners only concentrated on the financial side properly. They gave 100% to that side for 25 years and neglected the football side. And the football side has dropped down and the financial side's up. So at the moment, we've got plenty of money to buy players, but we haven't got the right players to come in. So that's where a skewed strategy takes you ultimately. You've got all the money, but none of the players. So
let me ask you a question.
That's where we are.
If I said to you right now, right, and I always find it funny when I ask these questions, people just say things like where someone is in the league right now. I just mean in general over the years. How far away are Tottenham from being like Arsenal, City, Liverpool? Forget where Liverpool are in the league right now. This is a Liverpool team that have won leagues, Champions Leagues in the last few years. So how far away are we from these teams, in your opinion?
In terms of being in a position where you could turn around to players and show that you're a competitive club, probably if we have the right players, if we have the right recruitment, then I would say probably 3 years.
See, this is where we're different. I think we're 5 years to a decade away from being anywhere near it, because this is not built over a few years. This is built over a number of years, like a number of years. And this is what happens when you build a squad constantly. And then you watch what Man City do most of the time. You watch what Arsenal can now do. These teams, they don't have to have, they have their windows every now and then where they go 4 or 5 players. Most of the time, if you look, they'll have one going out, one coming in, right? Because they've got their squad and they just have to keep it ticking over.
Okay.
For Spurs to get to that point, I think we are 20 players away from competing with Liverpool, Arsenal and City. 20.
Okay.
Our squad is horrific.
Sav, if I use Arsenal as an example, first, Arteta's been here 6 years.
Yeah.
It was 8th, 5th, 2nd.
Yeah, correct.
So first 3 years, and that's what I'm talking about, 3 years away. And then the next 3 years, he hasn't won any trophies, but he's been competitive. So
Sure.
they had smart recruitment. So if you look at that model, for me, that's what I based 3 years to start becoming competitive, where people want to come and join the club.
Fair. Okay, fair. Looking like that. And look, and that's on the proviso, right? That for 3 years, which is 6 windows, that every one of those windows, we actually act properly, get rid of deadwood and bring in quality players.
Yeah.
And the problem that we've got is the last 20 odd years has shown us that we never, ever have. So we've had a few good windows over the years, but we never have good windows back to back, Lubo. We never go, oh my God, look what we did in January, then backed it up in the summer with this. And then we've shown over a number of years that we're terrible at getting rid of players. We've shown that we're terrible at getting players in at the right time. We've shown that we've got no succession planning. Kane shows that. Son shows that. Moussa Dembele, Carl Walker, all these years of trying to replace Walker. Danny Rose. I still don't think we've ever gone and got a competent left back. Lloris.
But so when you look at Brighton, they haven't got the financial clout.
Sure.
But in terms of strategy, I think Brighton have been brilliant.
Absolutely.
And you look at what Tony Bloom and Paul Barber, who was at Spurs, who left Spurs and wouldn't come back when he was asked, stayed with Brighton. Look what they have put together. They have a succession plan for everybody. Every single member of staff in that club, they have a succession plan. So if somebody, God forbid, somebody falls ill and they've got to retire, for argument's sake, they've got somebody in mind to come straight in. You know, so we've never had this.
This is it, Lubo.
Sav, we've never had this because we've never had owners that think in that way.
I completely, I don't disagree with you. This is my point.
Sean can talk about finishing 2nd and 5th and semi-finals and God knows what. My point is that if we were that close, we could have been even closer. Because if they'd have actually made an effort and tried to stretch the club, no guarantee we would have won. But I'm sure, you know, look at Liverpool. They got smacked by us at Wembley 4-1. End of the following season, I think they lost to Real Madrid, didn't they? That fantastic Bale performance with the overhead kick in the Champions League final in 2018. They went out and bought Maddison and Van Dijk. They went out, they sold Coutinho, they took a view, got 105 for Coutinho and spent 140 on Van Dijk and Maddison. They took a view, they also spent a lot of money. They've been clever, they got 75 million for Suarez as well. That money was spent wisely, ultimately. But they did it. They went and they bought the right players. And
but what they've also got, though, whenever that gets trotted out, you've got to remember this is Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. Liverpool Football Club can attract those level of players. Spurs, for decades, now, whether this is because the owners haven't tried to or can't, we don't attract that level of player.
But you know what, Sam? Liverpool, we finished above Liverpool for 7 out of 8 years. Sure. We finished above Arsenal for 6 years running.
Sure. Liverpool, and they're still more attractive than us.
Liverpool didn't win the league for 30 years, from 1990 to 2020.
Sure.
30 years.
But you dismiss how big these clubs are, though. This is the problem. They are massive.
What I'm saying is that when these clubs took a dip, we were in that position to take advantage of that dip. When Poch and we didn't. And that's the biggest crime going is that
I agree.
By default, he picked Van Gaal, Levy. Van Gaal agreed. Then he went back on his word because United came calling, and then Levy went and got Pochettino, which was a smart move. But then he brought him in, saw what Poch did. Poch nearly took us to the promised land, wouldn't back him. So and Poch took us to a position league-wise that we hadn't been since the year we won the double. We won the double in 61 and we came second in 62. And we've been nowhere near that for 55 years. And he didn't even see the opportunity and back him. And that for me is the biggest crime. So we've got to get back to that, Sav, to start competing.
I agree. But the question mark will always be there. And this is the thing, is Liverpool could finish 17th this season and footballers wouldn't care. If Liverpool Football Club come in for you, you join. Same with Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Sure.
Why are Man United still attracting footballers, even though they've been really up and down for the last decade? Because they're Manchester United, right? So my point is, it's not that I disagree with what you're saying about that time under Poch, but those clubs are able to do that, right? Spurs need to be smarter, right? Spurs knew Kane was going. We knew Kane was going, and our efforts to replace him were abysmal, right? We knew Son was going, and then we didn't replace him, and fans say, "Oh, well, he can't do everything in one window." No. You've got to have a plan. You've got to replace your players that are leaving. So, I just think I'm very realistic about what Spurs are, right? I think that most fans in the country realise what Spurs are. And I do think that we have delusions of grandeur as to how big or attractive we are. And I hear all the time people going, fact, just put the money down, they'll come. It's never been the truth. It's never. Maybe a few mercenaries across the world, but this is where we're at. We need a sensible approach, right? The players might not be the most glamorous or the most sought after, but we need a sensible approach now with a recruitment plan that is longer than a year, right? Without a director of football leaving, without a manager leaving, without an owner. We need a plan. And that's why Brighton's model, lesser, right? But Brighton's model is brilliant, right? Because it doesn't matter who the manager is, right? The club knows what it wants. It doesn't matter who the director of football is. The club knows what it wants and's got a plan. Same with Brentford over the years, right? Look what Brentford have implemented. They keep finding these gems, don't they? They build them up, they sell them on for big money, and then the next gem comes through the ranks. Spurs don't do that or buy big. We're kind of stuck in this hit and hope in the middle. Some come good and we go, oh my God, and we hold on to them forever. Most have been really poor signings over the last 2 decades, if we're brutally honest. So
where we're at,
that's why I don't know what we are. I don't know what we are as a football club anymore. I just don't.
The problem is, last century, you talk about why is a club attractive? A club is attractive because of its history, because it's got a winning history. Because you look at Liverpool and you look at, was it 6 or 7 Champions Leagues? You go back to Shankly, to Paisley, to Ronnie Moran, all the players that played for them. And Liverpool built their name on history.
Sure.
United from Munich through to Busby in '68. Then they had a big dip. Ferguson came in, and look what Ferguson's made them in terms of history, in terms of being attractive. Ferguson won, God knows, 27 trophies in 26 years. He did an amazing job, and he didn't win a trophy for 4 years. Funny enough, they gave him an opportunity for 4 years. Those days were different. Birkinshaw joined. We were relegated first year. Can you imagine the Spurs fans if we had social media then? He wouldn't have been given the chance to bring us up, go and get Ozzy and Ricky, go and get Archibald and Crooks, bring Hoddle through even more with Perryman, and have this great team for the won 3 trophies in 4 years. It's all about history, and unfortunately, since Enoch came in 2000, we've won 2 trophies, and the other clubs have gone up and up and up and up in terms of trophies. They become far more attractive. All the players are financially independently wealthy now. It's not the big thing about whoever pays the highest wages in terms of becoming financially independent anymore. It's about going to the big clubs that are going to win, that are going to match a player's ambition, because they want to have medals on their sideboard when they end their career. And that's why Kane left Tottenham and went to Bayern Munich. How sad that a club that our big, with our history, we have our best ever forward, arguably with Jimmy Greaves, who had to leave to go and win trophies. And for me,
but hang on.
That shows you where we are as a club, sir. That shows you how far we've dropped.
Hang on, but again, you're dismissing, you're overstating Spurs and dismissing the size of bigger clubs. It doesn't matter if Spurs had won a few trophies. If Harry Kane is as great as everyone says, right, and has the ambition that everyone says, he's still going to leave Tottenham for bigger football clubs. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way, right?
If he'd have won several trophies with us, I don't think he would have left.
What, League Cups? If he'd won a few League Cups, you don't think he would have gone to Bayern Munich?
If he'd have won one of those leagues in 16 or 17,
But we weren't even close to winning one of those leagues.
If he'd have won the Champions League in 2019, I think Kane would have stayed.
Sure, but then I would have said he's got zero ambition as a footballer, because big footballers, let's be fair, right? Big footballers, when the big boys come calling, how many of them turn it down?
But you know, Sav, if ENIC had backed Pochettino and he would have started to build a bit of a dynasty, then Kane wouldn't have wanted to leave, because we are up with those clubs.
Sure, but there are players leave Man United and Liverpool when Real Madrid come calling, right? Hang on. There is a hierarchy. I know we don't like it, and I know our fans think we're as big as these clubs. There is a hierarchy. I accepted this from when I was a child, right? When I was a child, I accepted Tottenham Hotspur will always lose its best players to bigger clubs, right? Teddy Sheringham, right? Teddy Sheringham is at Spurs. Man United come calling, I'm off. Robbie Keane's at Spurs. Liverpool come calling, I'm off, right? Carrick, Bale. I mean, we could do this game all day long. Unfortunately, there is a food chain everywhere. Spurs can bully smaller clubs. Bigger clubs can bully Spurs. The biggest clubs can bully the big clubs. Real Madrid come calling. Who turns them down? Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? Let's use your theory. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Liverpool lad. Winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues and FA Cups and League Cups at Liverpool, right? Okay. Real Madrid come calling and he goes, yeah, see you later, right? That's the food chain in football.
Right. But Gerrard didn't leave, did he? Chain. Steven Gerrard didn't leave Liverpool, did he?
Sure.
John Terry didn't leave Chelsea.
Hang on. But we've got no evidence. Who offered for Steven Gerrard? Chelsea.
We don't know. We don't know who else offered. We don't know who else, do we?
Sure, but I don't remember in all of my history of seeing Real Madrid have slapped down 100 million for Steven Gerrard. I don't ever remember seeing that, right? We saw it with Gareth Bale. We knew it. The offer was there. We knew it, right? We would know everything in this era. There will be a few exceptions to the rule, but at Tottenham, what big player is going to stay rather than leave for a bigger club? And that is something that we've got to make peace with. You've got to make peace with that. And if you don't, it's easy to say, well, Kane would have stayed if Levy had. Well, I would have questioned Kane's ambition. If that's the case, I would question that when the big boys come calling, you go. We all do it in life. You know it. I know it.
If he's won a league championship, if he's won a Premier League and a Champions League, and Spurs have built, and now they're up with the Cities and the Liverpools over the last 6 years, which should have happened, then Kane's going to be, he's banging it every single year in the Premier League. He's scoring goals.
Why did Cristiano Ronaldo leave Man United to go to Real Madrid?
Well, Kane's a London boy, isn't he? Kane was at the club from the age of 10. Ronaldo from Madeira. What loyalty has a boy from Madeira got for Man United? Seriously.
But what does loyalty come into this?
No,
right?
No. Well, it did for Steven Gerrard and it did for John Terry, didn't it? So you've got to look at players from the modern era. They stayed, didn't they?
When you say they stayed, hang on. Who bid for John Terry?
Maybe you're seeing a situation where Saka will be at Arsenal his entire career.
Sure. But I'm talking about, though, this can't just be plucking names. It's got to be if a bid goes in for them and they turn it down. If Real Madrid come in for Saka and Saka turns around and says, I don't want to leave Arsenal for Real Madrid, I will concede the point to you. But if no one big comes in, like whenever we talk about our players, we go, oh, Atletico and Real Madrid wanted Romero. Cool. Where were the bids? Where were the bids? If there's no bids, what does it matter? Oh, so-and-so wants our players. Well, where's the bid? Dogi's wanted by Pep. Cool. Where was the Man City bid?
Well, listen, we'll never know because we didn't win the trophies and Kane went. But Kane left because he was more ambitious than our club. That's fact. And he left to win trophies, and good luck to him.
We're just not that club, and this is the problem. We are so far down.
That club. The club's been diminished for 25 years, Sav.
Before that, we weren't that club.
To make up, we've got 25 years of damage to make up, Sav. It's not an overnight job.
But I hate to break it to you, Lubo, and this is the problem. I hate to break it to you. Between 1961 yeah, and Enoch taking over, we also didn't win any league titles or Champions Leagues, right? So we won cups, but these players want to win the big pots. They want to win leagues and Champions Leagues regularly. They want to play with big players. And that's why they leave for the biggest clubs. They want to play with the best players. This notion that if Spurs managed to win one league title, that players wouldn't leave us, it's madness. Everyone leaves every club. They move to bigger clubs. Otherwise, no one would leave, would they? No one would.
No, of course.
No one would ever leave if we just said, "Oh, well, Man United. Why did Beckham leave? Why did Vidic leave? Why did Stam leave? Why did Keane leave? Why did I could do this all day long?"
Stam got pushed out. Keane had a massive rut with Ferguson and got blown out.
But my point is, players leave clubs that are winning things, right? My point is, it's not even about losing the players. I accepted that. We should all accept you're going to lose players. My big issue is, what's the succession when we know those players are going? That's the bigger issue for me. My issue wasn't that I thought Kane would be at Spurs forever. We all knew he was going to go to a club at some point. The problem was, who at the club had the foresight to say, what's the plan for when this guy leaves? And still, 3 years later, we're sitting here and our attempts to replace him have been Solanke, right? Valise, and Mawani on loan. That's the strikers we've bought since Kane went. That's the bigger issue, surely, is that...
Of course, that's been the issue for a long, long time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But apart from a few periods in the last 25 years, for most of the 25 years, that's been the problem. It's been a big problem.
I don't disagree.
That's why we are where we are at the moment. We're 14th. We're 2 games off halfway. And we're, what are we? 4 points off 17th? Yeah, we're 4 points, I think, off 7th. So, it can go either way. They've got to make sure that the January window is a good one.
Yeah. Look, let's wrap up. I need to do some super chats and then we'll wrap up. But look, I like you, wish we were a bigger club. I wish we done things properly. I just think everything's been done so badly for so many years now that in my heart of hearts, I've kind of I acknowledge what we are and what we're not. And it just astounds me the number of people that truly don't understand why we can't get Ezes and Semenyos. And the funny thing is, Lubo, these players in years gone by would have just been another player. These are good footballers. These aren't the elite footballers in the world. And we can't even attract them. So I don't know where we go. And again, Mace, this is the thing you'll see. If Erling Haaland turned around and said to Man City, by the way, in the summer I'm going, or I'm not going to sign a new contract because I'm thinking of leaving in the next year or two, you better believe your life that Man City are going to do everything they can to find a solution.
So, they signed him up for, was it 8 or 9 year contract, Haaland?
Yeah, no,
sure. Contract.
But
that keeps his value, doesn't it? That holds his value.
You get my point. My point is, if Man City, they knew that Fernandinho was coming to the end of his time at Man City. So a year before Fernandinho packed it in, they go and buy Rodri and they ease him into the team. And now Rodri's the guy, right? That's what those clubs do.
Because they're set up for football. They're football clubs, so.
I know.
They're set up to win things.
I know.
Or they're set up to give it their best shot.
Yeah.
I just want to.
I'm ending the show, mate. I'm ending the show. So I've just seen your WhatsApp. So sorry, bro. Yeah, I'm ending the show. Otherwise, I'll be here all day and I won't get any jobs done. We're hosting a lot of people tomorrow for Christmas Day, so there's stuff that needs to be done. Look, all I'll say is this: I think we can all agree things have to change. I think we've all known this for decades. I just think some of us are a little bit more. I just think some of us, Lubo, some of the fan base are a little bit more understanding of what we actually are right now as opposed to what they think we are. And as I said, when I've had people coming in the last few days telling me that this Tottenham squad should be fourth, I really have to question their understanding of football and the level of players we got. But look, I've got a lot of super chats, so let me just get these done. Hello, mate. How you doing? I love them. So good, aren't they? Dogs are amazing. Dogs, hang on, one second. Look. Hey, who's this? Who's this? Hello. Look at this miserable git. Look.
Yeah.
Pugs always look miserable. He's very happy inside, honestly. Look. Oh, you lovely boy. Anyway, let's do some super chats. Jack has asked, can you say what building sensibly means? Yeah. Doing what Aston Villa have done. Doing what Newcastle have done. They've gone and bought solid pros that you know what you're going to get. Might not be the most glamorous name, but get the job done. But I guarantee you, if Spurs had gone and bought some of the players Villa bought, our fans would moan. If we had gone and got Digne, Matty Cash, if we had gone and bought Kamara, McGinn, Anana, I'm telling you, our fans would have complained. But they've gone, put them together, built a team. Sensible. Nothing crazy, nothing amazing. They've not broke the bank to buy anyone. They've not had to pay £90 million for a footballer. Sensible, right? That's all I want Spurs to be, is sensible. Right, super chats. Aussie Frank Lover, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate you. Have a lovely Christmas. Really, really appreciate you. It must be Christmas Day already there, right? Or are they behind us?
Where's he? Where is he?
Australia.
Yeah, no, they're ahead.
Yeah, they're ahead. So it'd be Christmas Day now, right?
Well, Melbourne is 11 hours ahead. I'm not sure where.
Well, happy Christmas. Happy Christmas wherever you are. Happy Christmas to you. Thank you very much, Aussie Frank Lover. Big up to It's My Face. I said happy Christmas, everyone. Happy Christmas to you as well. It's My Face is a great name for a YouTube handle. I think big up to you, It's My Face. Aussie Frank Lover's coming again. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Even the trolls. Yeah, we need the trolls. The trolls are great. We've got to have trolls like Matt, right? We've got to have trolls like Sam Smith now. Those people say the things that give us the laughs because they say such stupid things that we have to laugh. Big up to you, Aussie Frank Lover. Matt's best one, by the way, for anyone asking, has got to be that Spurs missed out on Tyler Dibbling. I mean, what do you do? What do you do when you hear that? What do you do? Big up to you. Big up to Tony Rodriguez. Said no player or coach with a brain will join this shit show. Well, Tony, they will, but it depends on the level, right? It depends. Like when fans say, just go and get Zidane. Yeah, if Zidane joined Spurs, I'd be like, are you okay, mate? I'm sure you must have better offers. But big up to you, Tony. He's so blunt. I love it. I love Tony. Big up to you, mate. Adam, I said, if you go by past transfers, we never normally hear news about transfers we get beforehand. Hell no to Lookman. We have enough drama. Merry Christmas. I'm telling you, mate. I'm telling you, Lookman is everything we need right now. Quick, powerful, scores goals, gets assists, done it on the big stage. I'm telling you, this is the problem. We think everyone's drama. I know, just saying. Big up to you, Adam. Thank you very much. Faz, happy Christmas, Faz. Said Savva spot on Savio. Merry Christmas and happy 2026. As I said, Faz, I'm not wedded to Savio, but if Spurs sign Savio or Fofana or Lookman, I can't complain about any of the three. Big up to you, my man. Thank you very much. Big up to Tony, who's come back in just with a super sticker. Loving it. Just a super sticker. No words. Love you, man. Thank you very much. He's coming again. So get rid of Bergvall, Grand Sar and sign real men, ready-made players. I hope this helps. I agree. Not so much about getting rid of them. The first two I would definitely get on loan. And Sar, I mean, what are we now? 4.5, 5 years with this bloke? I genuinely don't know what we're waiting for and when he's meant to become good. So big up to you, Tony. Ledley's knees have said gave Leeds cash plus Roden for Gray and they won the deal. Completely agree with you. Lubo will not be happy with that. Completely agree with you.
Come back to you in a couple of years, Ledley.
Yeah, a couple of years when Archie Gray is captain of Preston North End. Big up to you, Leslie. Ledley. Leslie. Big up to you. Big up to Jordan Coys, always very generous to me. Said, hi, Sav. I just want to wish you and everyone else a very happy Christmas and hope everyone has a lovely day. Right back at you, Jordan. Thank you for all your generosity. And listen, I'll see you guys as well tomorrow morning. I'll do a quick hour in the morning to say happy Christmas officially with a Christmas jumper. My wife's bought me a Christmas jumper. I'm going to prepare everyone now. It is red. So if I have to wear a red Christmas jumper tomorrow, it's not Arsenal. It's just a Christmas jumper. Big up to you, Jordan. Big up to Dean Law with a super sticker, always with the choo-choos. Big up to you. Thanks, Dean. Thank you to David Tanswell. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate the super sticker, mate. And I appreciate the super sticker from Paul Langley as well. You guys are far, far, far too generous. Big up to George, Super Cup Legends. Big up, George. Said, Merry Christmas Eve, Savva and chat. Get Savva to 24K. Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I gave up on asking for likes and subs a long time ago. I just got bored of it. But yeah, what are we? 97 away from 24,000. Look, I have quite good subs to viewers ratio, so I'm very grateful for that. But thank you, George. Appreciate you. Big up to Jordan coming again. Very generous. Said, we ain't a win now club, but we ain't really a building club who shows patience. Our transfers show we don't know what we are because half are experience, the other half potential. We are a very confused football club. I can't disagree with any of that. This is the problem. We don't build anything and we don't win now. So we're constantly stuck in this cycle. Big up to you, Jordan. You're very generous, my man. Thank you so much. The two Marks. How you doing, Mark? Hope you're well. Said, Merry Christmas, Savva and Lubo, and all in the chat. Have a great one. You have a great one as well. Big up to you. Thank you very much. Andy, Spurs fans become a YouTube member. Yeah, not many people have been becoming members lately, but big up to you, Andy, Spurs fan. Big up to you. Really appreciate that, my man. Andy Lester, who is also a member, said, Happy Christmas, Savva. Thanks for all the content over the year. You are welcome. There'll be more next year, no doubt. There'll be more. And there'll still be more this year, no doubt. Big up to you, Andy. Really appreciate all your support. Thank you, buddy. Tottenham Trev. Penultimately, Tottenham Trevor said, Merry Christmas, up the Spurs. Big up to you, Trev. Happy Christmas to you as well, my man. And last, but certainly not least, his future's bright. Future's lily white. Said, Merry Christmas, Savva. Lubo, I'm away at Edu Cater himself. Lots of love to your families, boys. Hang on, what? I'm away to...
Edu Cater himself.
Cater, is this meant to say Caterham? I don't understand what this means, but I like it. I don't understand, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's very generous to you. So I don't know what you mean. Oh, I was meant to say I'm away to educate myself. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. Just so you guys know, whenever we finish streaming, I send Lubo lots of different articles about football and Spurs so he can educate himself on it. It's fine. It is what it is. Lubo, thank you very much. Are you at home tomorrow for Christmas? Are you hosting?
Yeah, we've got a quiet one tomorrow over at Friends Boxing Day, who are husband and wife, or partners who are United Newcastle. Always hysterical watching them when United play Newcastle. But wishing everybody who's watching and everyone who's commented a Merry Christmas. Put away your Spurs hat. Enjoy your day.
Yeah.
And we'll be here this time after Christmas, won't we? With God knows what. Who knows what would have happened with Spurs in the next couple of days. But no, listen, it's been fun being on with you this year, Sav. And it's all, listen, it's Spurs. We're all big Spurs fans. I'm not sure about that. There are one or two on here. I've seen that Warren Paul Williams is a Man United fan. Well, welcome to the Spurs community, Warren. I know you enjoy being on with us. Maybe you'll think about switching teams next season. And
yeah. That's what every fan of every club wants, to be allowed to switch teams and choose Tottenham.
And Ellie's spot on. Merry Christmas. The future is lily white. There's only one Tottenham Hotspur. And there's only one Hotspur. You look at all the clubs, there's only one club. There's only one Hotspur.
Man, Aaron.
Christmas to everyone.
Listen, Aaron, I love you, dude, but you're welcome over to Red Side, Savva. Enjoy the cut. Listen, big up to everyone. By the way, the Big Six are live at the moment. Must be a Christmas special. They've probably got about 5,000 people watching. I'll send you over there. When you get there, just say Savva Raid or FHTV Raid. I can't see any Spurs YouTubers streaming. That's why I'm sending you there. Much love. Thank you very much, Lubo. Guys, I'll see you in the morning for an hour. Just an hour tomorrow morning. It will not be 3 hours. Just a morning before I have a crazy day of hosting. Much love. Take care. Please remember, it is Christmas, and as much as we all get frustrated with Spurs, there is a lot more to life for a few days than Tottenham Hotspur. Take care, much love, and as always,
Come on, you Spurs.
You Spurs.